Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Sightseeing Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the third part of What If Deku Got Harem from Konosuba. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Team Green Mansion, Izuku POV. So in conclusion, Drake-san will return to his original world? Just chill out. I was still a little surprised about that. Logically speaking, I can see where he's coming from, but it's just so underwhelming. What? I need a vacation. That's the whole reason I wanted to leave this world anyway. Plus I want to see how far along my own world has gotten in the last few centuries. He had no ambitions for conquest either, it was just that simple. Fair enough. Iris-chan, have the preparations been made? Sorry again that you couldn't come with us, but with the current political situation, it wasn't all bad. Iris was still given her own portal gun so she could visit whenever she wanted. It's just that she'd be rather busy in the coming months. It's okay, I'll make sure to visit you all once things have calmed down. Pandora-chan and I should be able to ease tensions within the month if we're lucky. That was being optimistic, of course, though with the goddess of fortune giving you her blessing one could afford to do so. Okay, that leaves us with 4 portal guns. I want to have at least 2 at all times just in case. So who should get the other 2? I opened it up for ideas. Only one was needed to go from world to world, regardless of party size, but it would be foolhardy to only have one on hand. I suggest we give one to Luna-chan and the other to Pandora-chan. That way we can be notified instantly if anything important happens in any of our major bases. Iris offered. The idea certainly had merit and I couldn't find any fault with it. So it's decided. Pack your bags, everyone, we're heading for my old world. And remember, Asobi-san said that there was going to be a surprise waiting for us on the other side, so I suggest going in full battle gear. I said, already having my full set on and ready to go, along with my 2 ultra-durable greatswords. 1 hour later, the main party of myself, Kazuma, Aqua, Darkness, Megumin, Yun, Eris, and All Might were now standing next to a completely opaque purple portal which would lead them to Izuku's original world. They confirmed that the portals worked earlier with Drake, the vampire already moving on to his own world, leaving the group to prepare themselves for their own plunge. Taking a deep breath, Izuku spoke out. Let's go. He jumped in first with no hesitation. Drawing this out wasn't going to help anyone. His party followed suit. Night Eye Agency third-person POV. In conclusion, we will have 2 teams. The first shall join the police and directly present our search warrants to Murai Sasaki, otherwise known as Sir Night Eye, was in the middle of explaining his invasion plans to his group of heroes when an ominous purple portal opened up in the middle of the room. Everyone tensed up immediately. They only knew of one portal user and the color only made things worse. Nejire, in particular, was a bit trigger-happy and fired off a spiral directly into the portal, just as Izuku walked out to tank the hit straight in the face. Gah, why? He yelled as he was knocked back into the building's concrete walls, cracking it with the impact. Luckily, his full set absorbed the blow, leaving him with no worse than a bit of dizziness from the unexpected movement. Izuku-kun, you okay? Need a heal? Aqua asked while casually exiting the portal as well, the rest of the party following suit, the last of which finally broke one of the surrounding heroes out of their shock-induced silence with an even bigger shock. The All Might, Murai whispered, barely audible even with the earlier silence. It didn't last very long though, as Night Eye proceeded to mutter to himself in ways that even made Izuku blush about the sheer impossibility of what he was seeing in front of him. All Might was stock still, completely caught off guard by having his old sidekick in front of him seconds after his return. So he did what he always did when faced with an awkward situation. He flexed. That's right. Never fear, for I have returned. Along with my protege Young, he switched into his muscle form at first to further prove his identity before returning to his base state, which he grew more and more comfortable with by the day. That is until he was interrupted by 2 very shocked but excited ladies. Deku-kun, divided by Midoriya-kun. Ochako and Tsuyu exclaimed in unison before simultaneously throwing themselves at their thought-to-be-dead classmate, both barely processing the fact that he was here in the flesh. The sole male member of Wano wasn't doing much better. For once, Kirishima's boisterous enthusiasm was put away, and a tidal wave of conflicting emotions took their place as he just stared at both his old teacher and classmate, only somewhat registering that they came with other people in tow. I hate to break up the touching moment and everything, but what the fuck is going on here? Ken Tagaki, otherwise known as Rock Lock, couldn't help but ask. He was usually a bit more composed, but considering that the number 1 hero and his protege apparently came back from the dead in front of their eyes, he probably deserved some slack. Eris-chan, a little help. Girls please. It's great to see you again too, but I can't explain unless you let me. Izuku tried to reason with them. He saw this coming eventually, but not the second he came back. Damn it, Asobi. The troll was probably laughing at him right now. Don't care. You're back and I'm going to hug you to Diachako started before clamming up at the poor choice of words. Seeing this, Izuku calmed down and returned the hug, soothing the tension within the two girls. I was gone for a bit there, but I'm back now. And don't worry, I'm not going to be leaving anytime soon. Sorry that it took so long, but a hero's work is never done, I guess, even in death. He tried to crack a joke, getting a punch to the side from a slightly recovered Kirishima. You make it sound like you did something pretty big while you were gone. I'd expect nothing less from someone as manly as you. So, who are they? Kirishima addressed the elephant in the room. The 6 very strangely dressed individuals that came with them. Yo, Kazuma Satu here. I died and went to another world just like Aniki, and yeah, that's what happened. Weird, I know, but so is the doofus goddess that brought me there. Kazuma cut the tension with his usual nonchalant introduction with an obligatory jab at Aqua. What was that, you ungrateful jerk? Tusk, at least you didn't call me useless this time. Learn to treat a goddess the way she deserves already. I am the great goddess of water, Aqua. She continued the married couple routine and introduced herself without missing a beat. I apologize for our companion's antics. My name is Darkness. It's a pleasure to meet Izuku-kun's old friends and colleagues. Lalatina tried to be the normal one of the group. Those that knew her better gave her less than a day before her true self was revealed. Stealing the spotlight as they tend to do, the 2 Crimson Demons went to make their own introduction. Until one of the lesser-known heroes, Mr. Brave, asked about the lowly wizards in the room, thoroughly knocking the wind off their sails and causing Megumin to get into a shouting match with the young hero while Yun Yun tried her best to play peacekeeper. Ignoring her friend's antics, Best Goddess introduced herself, and I am Eris, the goddess of fortune that recruited our young hero here. I must admit, it has to be the best decision I've ever made, she said while walking up to said young hero and his 2 old classmates. And just so you 2 know, he's quite popular in our world too. We'll talk later. She gave them her signature wink before walking towards Night Eye as the group's current representative. Goddesses, other worlds, magic. What utter nonsense is this? Eraserhead, use your quirk and expose these imposters for what they really are. Night Eye demanded, having already used his quirk that day so he was unable to do it himself. Weirdly enough, Aizawa was one of the last people to recover from their shock. Something about the trauma of losing a student in PTSD or something along those lines. He followed through with this request though and was equally shocked by what happened. Well, Night Eye probed. I'm using it. These people aren't using their quirks right now. It's really them. Somehow, Aizawa stammered, not fully believing his own eyes. Somehow, someway they were back. His problem child was alive and kicking along with the number 1 hero. I noticed that you guys were in the middle of an operation. Shai Hasekai. And they're keeping a word joining you. Actually no, the coordinates are already here. Kazuma-kun, Eris-chan, take the portal gun and teleport to their base. Locatory, make it fast and discreet. We'll take care of these animals afterward. Izuku's mood took a swift and brutal 180 as he sped read all the relevant information for this particular case. Needless to say, he was beyond pissed. Wait, what are you doing? Not only are you unlicensed and underaged, but you also have no idea what kind of quirks the villains could have or even the basic information that we've gathered so far. I can't possibly allow you to join the raid, much less let you go along with a bunch of untrained. Night Eye was completely ignored as the party's thieves saluted their leader before disappearing in another purple portal, turning invisible before leaving. How did they do that? My quirk was still active. They shouldn't have been able to go invisible. Aizawa mumbled to himself, less surprised than he really should be. Though at this point he'd chalk that up to his emotional numbness over recent events. Forget it, Murai-kun. When young Midoriya makes up his mind, there are very few things that can stop him. I for one have faith in both Eris-san and Kazuma-kun's abilities. They are easily the 2 best stealth fighters I've ever seen. Scarily so. If it weren't for the fact that he could take out any area smaller than a square kilometer by flexing, he'd almost say they're good enough to take him down. The praise from the number 1 hero did little to ease the tension in the room, considering that from the hero's perspective they just let 2 teenagers get away with raiding a villain hideout on their own. Tusk, fine. Heroes get equipped and ready to move in the next 5 minutes. We'll deal with these overconfident teenagers. Late Night Eye was saying before another purple portal appeared next to him. A slightly panting Kazuma and Eris stepping out of it with a very scared but equally confused Eri clutching onto Eris' hair like a lifeline. We got her. Good news and bad news though. The bad news is that the bird bastards found us halfway through our exit, so they know we're coming now. The good news, I gave them a few of Van Ursen's dolls. For once Izuku approved of his green blood brother's sadistic tendencies. That should take 1 or 2 of them out of commission at least. Good work, you two. Izuku congratulated them before taking a knee in front of Eri, the little girl looking at him from behind Eris' hair with a look of curiosity. A gentle smile turned that curiosity into wonder. Hello, little one. My name is Izuku Midoriya, a hero. And the 2 that rescued you are members of my party. Your silver-haired one-san is named Eris. Funny, right? The lame joke got a chuckle from the little girl before she flinched and clamped up again. Those Yakuza members were going to wish that those Vanir dolls killed them when the Belzerg residents were through with them. You really saved her, just like that, before we could even do anything. Mirio has mixed feelings, to say the least. On the one hand, it was great news. Eri could be free now and live the life she deserved. On the other hand, he sacrificed her to Overhaul for the sake of the mission. And here came his previously deceased junior, doing the right thing regardless of what others thought, getting the job done with a single command to his team. You did indeed, and for that I'm grateful. However, your friend still broke the law, Midoriya-san. I can't simply let that slide. Night Eye mentioned, eyeing Kazuma and Eris critically, the former of which stuck his tongue out while the later merely raised an eyebrow. Okay, 3 things. We don't have quirks. We technically didn't break any laws other than trespassing on a known criminal's property. And even if we did, we aren't native to this world and are not bound by your laws, human. She stressed the human part, reminding him that things weren't as straightforward as he may think. Besides, even if Aniki gave the order, you can't exactly arrest a dead man. Kazuma pointed out his own cheeky loophole, making every hero in the room sweat drop at the sketchy-looking adventurer's antics. Kazuma-kun, Eris-chan, please don't make me sound like some anarchistic warlord. I'm still trying to do damage control back home for that. If anything, I'm more of a diplomat, a representative of Belzerg along with Darkness-chan, Izuku said, rubbing the back of his head. He was the co-governor of a foreign city after all, a claim of diplomatic immunity from a different world. Just what kind of bull Rocklock started before receiving a scathing glare from Eris, who gently placed her hands over Eri's ears. Nonsense have I gotten myself into? This was supposed to be a by-the-numbers raid, damn it. He suppressed his stronger curses in consideration of the child in the room. I know it all sounds a little crazy, but please bear with it. Now, please take me to your leader. You haven't changed at all, problem child. Aizawa shot and buried Izuku's attempt at a joke on the spot. Some things never change. We can't just end this operation. Eri may be safe, and I thank you for that, but Kai Chisaki is still at large along with the rest of his Yakuza. We can't just let the Night Eye try to explain, though he really didn't have to. Say no more. I never planned on letting that bastard get away with what he did scot-free. Megumin-chan, Kazuma-kun, Yun-Yun-chan, Aqua-chan, and Darkness-chan. You 5 will take out the villain's base. Collateral damage is not acceptable. Megumin, limit yourself to holy explosions and please keep it concentrated. Izuku cut him off before ordering the 4 girls to finish the job. Oh, and please try not to vaporize them. It's going to make reviving them a pain if we have to search for their ashes in a bunch of rubble. Aqua chimed in, thoroughly scaring and shocking the natives of this world with her free admission to premeditated murder. And the ability to resurrect the dead. Aye, Captain. Onwards to mayhem and explosions, Megumin shouted while jumping into a freshly made portal that Izuku made for them. Before I forget, Aqua-chan is not the leader of this operation. Kazuma-kun, you're in charge until further notice, followed by Yun-Yun-chan. Understood. It wasn't a question. They knew full well just how hard-headed or unwise their teammates could be when they wanted to. Progress or not, this was still the insane family that he grew to know all too well. Aqua just pouted but accepted it anyway. Leading was too much stress anyway. Why would she want that position? Oh, and no knock and they're gone. Oh well, I trust them, Izuku said while actively ignoring the pale-faced heroes that he was left to deal with. Even if they did destroy the whole compound, it was no skin off his back. Chisaki should be captured by the time we finish any formal meeting. I assume since I'm coming from a completely different world that you'd need to contact the Prime Minister at the very least. This was really an international event, but one thing at a time. Night Eye nods and walks out of the room. This was going to take a few phone calls. They aren't actually going to kill anyone, right, Deku-kun? They were just being eccentric, right? Achako asked in a shaky voice, the adults in the room still processing everything. Right, killing was a pretty big no-no here. Oh, they meant it. They don't take well to child abusers, and I hold no sympathies for the bastard either. Don't worry though, we can always revive them for questioning and imprisonment later. It's just death, nothing permanent. Oh wait, death was permanent for most, so he should probably rephrase that. The standards in our new world are quite looser than they are here. Not to mention the war. For the last year or so for young Midoriya, he's spent his time fighting an enemy army and taking down several of their generals, I may add. Such experiences are bound to harden you. All Might made it sound graver than it really was. His theatrics were showing again. You make it sound like I killed them all Might. I only killed 2 of the generals, and one of them wasn't even alive to begin with. 4 of them joined me, and the last 2 I either never met or only did so after they already surrendered. His kill count was a grand total of 1 person. Hans was the only living sentient person he killed, and even then it was Megumin who made the killing blow. Surrendered. So your war is over. I suppose that's why you're here now? Aizawa asked. knowing that his wayward student was a war veteran of all things was not what he expected, but it could have been worse. At least he wasn't a cold-blooded killer like Aizawa feared. Yes, after they lost so many generals in my fight with All Might, the former enemy army surrendered within the week. We've actually made peace since then and even formed an alliance. It turns out that the enemy king was also a reincarnated Japanese, albeit from yet another world. Izuku confirmed before shrugging in a what-can-you-do way. You fought All Might Sensei, and it was enough of one to make an entire enemy nation surrender. Nejire was thrown off her usual bubbliness by the new echelon of insanity that her kuhai just spouted. It was his graduation match. He gave it to me pretty good too. In fact, I still have the scar. All Might raised his shirt to show the relatively small but still visible scar from the time Izuku threw his blade. And he's only getting stronger. Sorry, I'm rambling. I'm just so proud, he exclaimed quietly, going full Dynamite. Needless to say, finding out that the red and green Wonder Child beat All Might on his own, and has only grown stronger since then, threw everyone for a loop. No wonder that enemy nations surrendered. All Might alone was a deterrent for war. Now they had him in someone stronger. I just finished calling the Prime Minister and the top 10 heroes. What did I miss? Night Eye says as he walks back into the room. The pale-faced heroes were dead silent at the thought of informing the All Might otaku about what they just heard. All Might was about to brag about his successor's achievements once again before a portal opened up in the room once more, a panicking Kazuma running out. Anarchy, we have a code alchemist. Megumin Chan's down and one of the villains has a skill that makes anyone around him feel super drunk. We need something big and sustained to take this guy down. It only took him saying code alchemist for Izuku's brain to start going 1,000 miles a second for counters. On it, Izuku exclaimed before bursting into the portal at full speed, not wasting any time. Even Aqua's healing had its limits, and he knew that darkness was probably tempting fate right now. Not to mention how Megumin was basically defenseless if she really did use up all her potions. Shai Hasekai base, minutes ago. Overhaul POV. It was all gone. Everything that I worked for, everything that I've built over the years with my own 2 hands, was just gone. First Uri goes missing. The alarms were raised as expected, but the invaders somehow teleported out of the building using some kind of support gear. That alone would have been disastrous but manageable. Then my headquarters fucking blew up. The whole compound, one building at a time. And the weirdest part is that they all happened in perfectly symmetrical blast zones that stopped barely above the underground levels of the hideout. Thankfully, we were underground at the time, looking for any possible clues that could lead us to the invaders, saving myself and my bullets from the blast. That attack would have killed us all if we were still up there. These can't be heroes, can they? Chronostasis said in complete shock. He couldn't even muster up the energy to be angry. He was just numb to the fact that if they weren't at the right place at the right time, then they would all be dead and without a single thing they could do about it. Yo, Megumin Chan, you missed all of them. We heard a surprisingly young voice come from above the crater. A blue-haired, blue-dressed, blue-eye, you get the point, girl yelled while laughing at an even younger-looking girl who presumably launched the attack. She wasn't trying to hit them, Aquabaka. Why do you think I used Detect Life before Megumin Chan let out her explosions? Anarchy told us to keep them revivable for questioning. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to go around with a dustpan looking for ashes. A lackluster-looking brown-haired boy argued with the brunette, describing their plan to their enemy like an idiot. A bunch of children. My empire, my life's work, was destroyed by children, I yelled, not able to hold back my anger anymore. And it only increased when he was ignored. Kill them all. I give in and bark my simple order to my bullets. Don't have to tell me twice, boss. Come here and die, you little brats. Rappa, our berserker rushed in like a moron, aiming at the down brat who presumably destroyed my compound, only to be blocked and actually pushed back by the blonde woman in heavy metal armor of all things. What the hell are you made of? My punches can break stone like paper, and that armor is just basic steel, isn't it? Rappa was furious. Very well. If his physical strength wasn't enough to break through her defenses, then I should simply remove those defenses, and her life along with it. Speed wasn't my strong suit, but it wasn't needed either. Rappa was already distracting the blonde well enough, and the other girls were content to simply watch, it would seem. My real concern was with the boy who pulled out a longbow of all things and aimed it straight at me. Chrono. I kept the speaking to a minimum. My right-hand man already knew what to do and used his quirk to slow down the archer enough for me to easily dodge his shot. Using my own quirk, I manipulated the ground under me to propel myself towards the blonde, arm outstretched, and ready to deconstruct her on the molecular level. And it would have worked too if it weren't for those meddling kids and their stupidly versatile quirks. Moments before my hands made contact, some kind of laser cut off my arm. AARGH, I howled as the searing heat of the attack made its way above the stump where my left arm used to be. Luckily, Sakaki was able to sneak up on the group and activate his sloshed quirk, taking their focus off me and allowing me to pick up my fallen limb and reattach it to my body mostly good as new. I was a bit unfamiliar with fixing ionized flesh, so it was kind of a rough job. Shit, they have an alchemist. I'll go find Anarchy. You guys just survive. The boy, who was surprisingly articulate and stable for a drunk, yelled out before opening some kind of portal. That's him, the one that ruined everything. Kill him first. No, bring him to me alive so that I can make him pay myself, I ordered, but it was too late. The portal closed the moment he entered it. Was he planning to leave his comrades behind so easily? Kazuma-kun abandoned us, leaving us pure maidens in an inebriated state with a bunch of abusive, violent, and filthy criminals. This is the best day of my life. I didn't even want to know. Time for them to die. Rushing towards what I perceived to be the greatest threat, I aimed to remove the blonde's armor first and then the flesh beneath. I was only partially successful, and now he's stripping me. What kind of depraved thoughts must be going through their mind? And what's this weird feeling in my chi? The stupid woman looked down and noticed that the entire left side of her chest was a jagged mess, muscle, skin, fat, and even bone tissue jutting out in a mismatched fashion. That should show her that this wasn't a heal, the blue-haired girl yelled, instantly undoing his hard work, leaving the blonde completely healed, albeit missing half of her top. Be more careful, darkness. It's almost like you want to get hurt or something, said the total moron. How else would you explain the utter inability to read the room or her blonde friend's disappointed face? What even is my life at this point? I asked myself, not expecting an answer. Izuku POV. Appearing in what I assumed was a giant crater, I overheard the villain Overhaul asking himself a question that I myself have asked many times. Though in this case he was pretty sure what the villain's future held. Grabbing onto his shoulder, I let him turn around just long enough to hear my response. Your life. How about over? I squeezed, taking off his arm at the shoulder. As Overhaul fell to his knees screaming in pain, I introduced myself. My name is Midoriya Izuku. You heard Eri-chan. You've hurt my party. You've killed many yourself and likely thousands more with your criminal empire. And you've thoroughly pissed me off. The villain looked up at me, true fear in his eyes. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to rip off your other arm. Aqua will heal the stump, and you'll come with me willingly to the police. Or would you prefer the quicker alternative? I gave him an ultimatum, only for Aqua to come in and completely ruin it. It done, goofed bird boy. Never change Aqua. Thank you, Aqua-chan. Now, Overhaul, what's your answer? And make it quick. If you don't respond in the next 10 seconds, I'll assume that you chose the more efficient path. Regardless of what he chose, Izuku wasn't letting this monster get away. It would be an insult to everything Eri went through if he did. You would kill me. Are you with the League? Or are you one of those? Bang. Chisaki was interrupted before he could buy himself any more time. And so were his cronies, who were Delaware smashed into the ground by Izuku before they could even take 2 steps towards their fallen boss. Was that supposed to be your backup? Not the strongest bunch. That long-haired one made me feel tipsy the closer he got until cleansed toxins dealt with his quirk. And that hooded one slowed me down by a decent percentage. Not that it did much, of course. These villains were pretty weak. Maybe he didn't need to come here personally after all. Oh well, he was already here. Answer the question or die. I'm not interested in giving monsters like you time to scheme, nor do I owe you any answers. Your subordinates are too weak to do anything and you're already down an arm. 5 seconds. Izuku gave the villain no quarter. This wasn't a question anymore, it was an ultimatum. Die. Chisaki gave his answer while slamming his only good hand on the ground, sending several pillars of concrete at his arrogant opponent. Crack. Crumble, only to have the pillars fall apart before they even reached their target. Maybe his opponent wasn't so arrogant if he could pull that off. Death it is, God blow. Aqua yelled, the water goddess having snuck up to Chisaki while he was hyper-focused on the green All Might impersonator. Her maxed-out stats and divine buffing skills causing her fist to slam straight through Chisaki's skull, a wet plopping sound escaping the body as it fell. Did you have to make it so messy, Aqua-chan? At least it was a quick death. Monster or not, I'd rather not torture them. He wasn't that far gone yet, at least not yet, and hopefully he never would be. He still wanted to be a hero after all. Hey, whatever. Let's just take this guy back to that morning ear dude or whatever his name was and finally celebrate our arrival to your old world. I want to try out some of the alcohol from this place already. Classic Aqua. Izuku really should have expected that. Fine, just let me knock out these mooks before we go. Izuku decided to go with the path of least resistance and created another portal back to Nine Eyes HQ, quickly powering up and cracking Overhaul's minions over the head before jumping into the portal. Damn, these things are useful. I'll have to thank Asobi-sen later, he said after jumping through with Overhaul's carcass hanging limply from his shoulder. Maybe I should have covered the body before. Izuku thought far too late as a chorus of horrified shouts happened the moment he stepped through the portal. Oh my god, is Thabiel-RK. Achako straight up vomited at the sight of the headless, still bleeding corpse that had suddenly appeared along with her old crush. Yeah, I should have covered the body. Izuku facepalmed at his slip-up. So you actually went and did it. I hope you realize that if you don't pull off the other end of your deal, then we'll have to take you in. Night Eye said, keeping his reaction down to a relatively tempered grimace. Aqua just rolled her eyes and went to revive Chisaki, only to be stopped by Kazuma. Baka Megami, don't revive the alchemist while he's unrestrained and with a functioning arm. Bind, 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 Kazuma yelled, wrapping Chisaki's body in a way that would make darkness blush crimson before letting Aqua do her thing. Lesser healing, resurrection, Aqua chanted, regrowing Chisaki's head and sealing his stump before bringing him back to life. Rejoice, puny mortal, for this goddess has shown you mercy by bringing you back from hell's raging inferno. Now bow down, and Aqua began her rant of divinity until Kazuma smacked her over the head again. Save the posturing for the crimson demons, Aqua Baka. Besides, this guy owes Anarchy and these other guys some answers, right? Kazuma asked his leader and the other heroes in the room. The latter nodded nervously and proceeded to interrogate Chisaki for all that he was worth. So you're just a glorified quirkist with a chip on your shoulder and deranged sociopathic tendencies. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Midoriya-kun was right to take you down. Sickos like you deserve worse than what the system can give. Tsuyu said in her usual monotone voice, though the anger in her voice was obvious. Iri-chan is barely older than Satsuki Yamato. To think that she went through so much just because of this. Demon's desire to commit genocide. Midoriya-kun was right. The older sister in her came out something fierce. She was hugging Eri the entire time that Overhaul's interrogation was going on, along with Kazuma, Eris, and Izuku, who Eri seemed to have imprinted on after saving her. Don't you dare mock my ambitions, you filthy diseased Mochizuki didn't get to say much more before he was knocked out courtesy of a pissed-off rocklock. Not that anyone else was complaining. So, how's that diplomatic meeting coming along? Though I'd like to request that it take place at a later date. I just came back from the dead after all. I'd rather not have my mom's first time learning of this come from a screen. Izuku asked Night Eye. Thankfully, gathering such a large group of society's VIPs would take a while regardless, so he had time. You have 3 days to get your affairs in order. I suggest using this time wisely. And it seems as if your old classmates would also like to speak to you in private, Midoriya-san. And there's also the issue of helping Eri. She needs to visit a hospital to get checked up. Eri started trembling at that idea, the fear of needles getting the better of her. Checkup. Why do you want some backward human doctor to look after our little Axis member here when you have a beautiful goddess of healing like myself? Sacred heal, Aqua yelled, showering Eri in a golden light. At first, the poor girl crumpled up at the feeling of being reconstructed again, at least until she realized that it actually felt really nice, instead of the usual emptiness or outright pain that she felt when Overhaul did his thing. There, any and all diseases that she had are gone. All injuries have been healed, and I even cured her malnourishment since I'm amazing like that. Aqua bragged, and for once nobody denied that she did something incredible. Even Kazuma simply smiled at her. A nice reward for the blue goddess swimming in his mind for later. This is going to take some getting used to. I suppose I can label this as an act of God on the insurance paperwork. Night Eye squeezed his temples at the thought of how much work this was going to make him. He was happy for Eri, sure, but the bureaucracy was an enemy to all. Glad we don't have to do that stuff anymore. Vanir Baka may be a filthy devil, but at least he takes that cursed paper away. I wonder if he enjoys it. Ignoring Aqua's outburst, Izuku walked towards his 3 classmates and his former senpais while the pro heroes went out to deal with the boring stuff. So, that happened, Years of socializing or not. Izuku was still the awkward cinnamon roll that they all remembered. Granted, the students were a bit at a loss for words themselves. How did one react to their former classmate? Kuhai coming back from the dead and claiming to be the leader of a whole city. Yeah, I guess it did. Not gonna lie, that was kind of intense, but I can't say I blame you for not holding back against that monster of a villain. I probably wouldn't. Then again, I probably wouldn't have the luxury to either. You've got a lot stronger, Midoriya-kun. Kirishima picked up Deku's conversational slack with something they could all agree on. Of course, I can't call myself a hero, much less All Might's successor, if I gave up on getting stronger all because of a little thing like dying. Izuku joked, earning a chuckle from Mirio and Kirishima and a bit of a glare from the girls who weren't so amused. At least you're back now. I really missed you, Deku-kun. We all did. After we found out that you sacrificed yourself to save Koda and take down that muscular guy. Ochako was trying to find the right words, not that she needed to. Izuku understood what she meant and went in for another hug to comfort his old friend. I'm not sorry for what I did, Ochako-san, but I'm sorry I had to do it. If I let that villain get past me, Koda and I wouldn't have been the only one to die back there. I only regret that I was too weak to keep going. I died of exhaustion of all things. How lame is that? Were these tears? How long had it been since Izuku cried? Why was he the one crying? Wait, now Ochako was crying. Thankfully, nobody was heartless enough to stop the tearful reunion between the 2 best friends. Even Aqua, who was infamous for her inability to read a rune, gave them a respectful silence, waiting for them to let go of the hug before cutting in. I never knew you could be so sappy, Izuku-kun. You've always been the cool as a cucumber, super fearless leader, so this is a bit shocking, right guys? While the other members of his party were secretly in agreement, they still gave Aqua a flat look for saying it out loud. Deku-kun being a cool, fearless leader. Really, Ochako loved the guy, she really did. But he was also the guy who couldn't go 2 minutes in a conversation without stuttering or blushing back when they first met. Well yeah, he's always been our reliable leader. I know he was a bit socially awkward at first, but that didn't last long after we became an official party. Darkness answered, a bit confused since the only experience she had with the old Izuku was their first day as adventurers, where Izuku showed that he was shy in a crowd. Well, someone has to be the voice of reason among us. Kazuma Nyai can't be trusted not to let greed get the better of him, and Eris-chan bends too easily to what Aqua-chan wants. Izuku never had the time to actually express his frustrations or insecurities. His teammates were way too chaotic for him to afford a moment of weakness. Fair, I'd probably be in his position if he never died. These three, in particular, are quite the handful. Kazuma knew what Izuku was talking about. He was his third in command after all. And he wasn't prideful enough to deny that he himself was pretty hard to deal with at times. So, are you going to head home and see your mom first? If it's all right with you, can we come too? I just really want to catch up, man. You probably have some crazy stories to tell, I bet. Mulling it over a bit, Izuku decided that it would probably be for the best. Besides, he already needed to bring Eri with him. She was still shaking heavily from the insanity that was today, so she really shouldn't be left alone or in the company of strangers right now. Well, if that's decided, then let's take the fast route, Izuku said while pulling out his portal gun once more. This thing was seriously coming in handy, though it did make the natives a bit jumpy. Oh right, that portal villain. Izuku had nearly forgotten about that guy. Midoriya residence, seconds later. Okay, now just give me a minute to prepare myself before. So this is your old house, Izuku-kun. It's a little small, but I guess comparing an apartment to a mansion will do that. Hey, Midoriya, open up. Your son and his beautiful goddess friend are here to visit. And a few extras, I guess. Damn it, Aqua. The door to the Midoriya household opens to reveal a slightly pudgy figure who could best be described as motherly. Midoriya stood stock still for what felt for a full minute, just staring at the gaggle of adventurers, heroes in training, and her not-so-dead son, until her eyes rolled into the back of her head as she passed out, quickly getting picked up by Izuku, who was more than used to it. Yeah, that's about what I expected, Izuku said with a nostalgic smile at the sight of his mother. It was then that it really hit him. He was back, and he wasn't going anywhere anytime soon. Midoriya residence. I had the strangest dream. Izuku-kun was in it, and there was this beautiful blue-haired girl that claimed to be his friend, but that can't be right. Inko froze mid-sentence. A familiar pair of emerald eyes met hers, and time seemed to stand still once again. Thankfully, this time she didn't faint right away. Hey mom, it's good to see you again. It's been so long. I don't really know what to say, but just know that I'm Izuku couldn't finish his sentence before Inko wrapped him in a bear hug for the ages, terrified to let go as if doing so would dispel whatever blessed world she had woken up in. Was this impossible? Of course, it was, but Inko couldn't care less. Her son was back. Why, you're alive. My darling baby Izuku-kun is alive. And you brought friends. A lot of friends. A lot of very beautiful, scantily clad friends. Izuku, honey, what have you gotten yourself into? The overwhelmed mother said, noticing that while some of Izuku's old friends were there, some new ones were also present, two of which had an almost otherworldly beauty to them. And that one of these otherworldly beauties appeared to not wear underwear. Scantily clad. Is our clothing so strange for this world? I don't see why. Right. Aqua-chan. For a moment their darkness forgot that their blue-haired goddess teammate preferred going commando. Hey, why me? I keep telling you guys, I do wear underwear. They're just invisible so that Zuma doesn't see them. The worst part was that she sounded so sure of herself. The others could only stare at her with completely blank faces. Hell, even Inko couldn't help but sweat drop at the odd brunette's declaration. It's a long story, Mom. And it all started shortly after my death. Many hours and fainting spells later. I believe you, Izuku-kun. Mostly because I probably couldn't come up with a story this crazy if I tried. But I believe you. I want to know what your relationship is with my son. He asked the general question to the non-Terrans plus Kazuma. He's my Aniki. He's my best friend. He's our boyfriend. They're like family. Or Kazuma's, Aqua's, the rest of the girls, and Izuku's immediate responses. What? Inko was understandably caught off guard by the simultaneous answers with varying degrees of emotion behind them. It would seem that her not-so-little anymore boy had found others who he could call family. Your son is quite the special man, Inko-san. And in one way or another, he's caught the interest of quite a few ladies, myself included. And of course, spending so much time in a new world with new people has endeared him to our people. Eris' calm and kind voice calmed down Inko for a bit, enough for her to process the new information for just enough time for Aqua to ruin it. Oh yeah, he's been really busy for a mortal. He even got a marriage contract with Iris-chan a while back. Hey Izuku-kun, does that make you a king or a prince? I never really kept up with all that nobility stuff. The two Midoriyas choked on their saliva at this, one for how quickly the mood was broken and the other for the obvious reason of finding out that her son was some kind of monarch in the making. Aqua-chan, what did we say about opening your mouth while we're here? Kazuma said in a deceptively happy voice. Not to. Aqua realized what she had done and quieted down quickly afterward. Good girl. Kazuma patted Aqua on the head and handed her a bottle of alcohol to keep her occupied while the adults talked. Deciding to ignore that exchange entirely for her sanity, and Ko instead decided to talk to her son about how his time in the other world was like. Little did she realize that it would lead her down a rabbit hole so deep that it would take days simply to get to the bottom, let alone explore everything involved with it. That night Izuku slept with his mother for the first time in nearly a decade, each savoring the feeling of familial love that they've gone without for so long. Nobody dared to interrupt them as the two slept through the night without a care in the world. Well, except for one. Izuku-kun, who is the silver-haired little girl and why does she look like the older one? Ko was too young to be a grandmother yet, and Izuku was certainly not gone for long enough to have a child this old yet. About that this was going to be awkward to explain. The next day, early morning. Waking up early, Izuku was met with his mother's peaceful sleeping face, something that brought a sincere smile to his face. For the next 2 days, he was going to enjoy catching up with her, and nothing was going to stop him from doing so without losing its head. Well, that was rather violent. I should probably eat something before any more homicidal thoughts get through. Izuku headed over to the kitchen to make breakfast for the small army that made his old apartment their home for the night. Not that he minded, of course. Having so many familiar faces around was making the transition back into his old world much easier. I'll worry about that later. For now, I just want to catch up with Mom as best as I can before duty calls once again. While Izuku was in his little trance, he didn't notice the footsteps that announced Ko's arrival. He had forgotten that he wasn't the only early riser. Izuku-kun, you never used to wake up this early. Good morning. Ko called out from behind her son, followed by Darkness, who had a similar morning routine. And you're making breakfast. Need any help? Ko asked, to which Izuku gladly accepted. Superhuman speed could only do so much when you're cooking for nearly a dozen people. Is this an American-styled breakfast? Where did you learn this? Mom asked, to which Izuku answered by saying that All Might taught him after his death. I guess that makes sense. There are probably a lot of stories that you didn't have time to tell me last night. Ko said, a little self-conscious. Don't worry, we'll be sure to tell you plenty of stories from Belzer. Maybe you can even visit in the future after the craziness dies down. I'm sure Iris-chan would love to meet her mother-in-law. Darkness said, getting a blush from the two Midoriyas. Izuku because his mom was reminded about his semi-royal status, and Ko because she now had a daughter. Multiple daughters-in-law to be specific. This was going to take some getting used to for the former mother of one. Smells good. Can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm glad that you got me into waking up early, Aniki. Kazuma mumbled, eyes still a bit crusty but otherwise awake. I could do without the baby goddess I adopted though. His face fell as Aqua all but floated into the room at the scent of food. Kazuma-kun, feed me. She mumbled with a goofy look on her face. Not even bothering to take a seat, she sat on Kazuma's lap instead, effectively preventing his escape. If you spoil me properly, I might just give you a special blessing, she offered in a teasing tone. Whatever. Just eat quickly so I can eat to my own food, you shameless goddess. He grumbled, not reacting to Aqua's teasing, having grown so used to it. Those unfamiliar with their relationship likened it to an old married couple. If only they knew. This spoiled goddess just want to be as lazy as possible. Oh well, he still owed Aqua for healing her yesterday anyway. Hey, Izuku-kun, why don't you do that to me? I'll make it worth your while. Eris tried to and succeeded in embarrassing her lover. Usually, Izuku would be able to take comments like that from Eris in stride, but considering that she said something so suggestive in front of his mother. Yeah, Deku was making a good impression of his pre-death self right now. There's the Deku-kun we know and love. Wait a second, does that reaction mean that you guys have actually? Ochako laughed along, only to stop once she realized the implications of what Izuku's reaction entailed. Did the dirty, had some adult nap time, put the banana in the fruit salad, pollinated the flower, buttered the biscuit, did 2-person push-ups, glazing the donut, souring the kraut, nailing it like the fucking Romans. Boy, X2 the resident goddesses took minor offense to that last one, but Kazuma kept going. Or at least he tried to, until Ochako slapped her hand over his mouth. Okay, we get it. Just please stop. Giving her a flat stare, Kazuma merely nods, letting Ochako release him, his smile never fading after getting such a fun reaction from the less experienced people in the room. Perfsima. And you didn't even use an explosion euphemism. I'm disappointed in you. Megumin glared at her partner in explosions, though the intense blush on her face took away most of the force behind it. Kazuma-kun, just how backed up are you? Izuku asked, not expecting an answer. Yes. 1 hour later, Yue. Are you sure you're ready for this, Izuku-kun? I understand if you need to wait one more day before breaking the news to your old classmates. Inko asked as she, her son, and his posse of colorful characters walked to Yue, which had gone back to business as usual after the Chisaki incident. That will only make it worse than it already is. Besides, I can't do that to them. Achako-chan, Kirishima-kun. Even my former senpais are keeping my return a secret even now. It would be unfair to make them keep that secret for much longer when they don't have to. Besides, he already had a bit of a test run with Achako and Kirishima, and that reunion was sweet at best and a tad awkward at worst. Something Izuku would gladly experience if it meant seeing his old friends again. I just hope that we don't run into that asshole you kept mentioning. What was his name again? Bakugo Katsuki, Kazuma asked. Sadly, his high luck stat did not save him from summoning the bomber he spoke of. Megumin perked up. A new challenger had appeared. Who the hell's talking about me? And what's with all the cosplaying jackasses? And why does one of them look like moments after realizing just who was in front of him? Bakugo went stock still, his mouth clamped up and his face went a pale white that rivaled Eris hair. Fuck this shit, him out. I ain't dealing with goddamn ghosts. The explosive boy yeeted himself the hell out of there and blasted off into the distance, his voice trailing off as he disappeared into the city, not to be seen again until hours later when the local law enforcement finally got him to calm down. You know, I probably should have expected that. Poor Kaken will probably have the same reaction when he meets All Might again, especially since it was an accident caused by him that killed the former #1 hero. Not that it was truly his fault, of course. Thankfully, All Might had to deal with his reintegration into the government, so he couldn't make come today, giving Bakugo a bit more time to adjust to the sudden shock. Hopefully the others won't have that kind of reaction. Here it is. Just give me a moment to prepare myself. Before he tried to ask once again, only to be interrupted by his former homeroom teacher's usual emotionless drawl. Midoriya, you're late. Get in here. Being a deadman doesn't excuse tardiness, Aizawa said, grabbing the young man with his capture tool before dragging him into his classroom, much to the astonishment, bewilderment, and other words ending in ment of Class 1A. All of which was silent, of course, apart from those who were present for the Chisaki incident. Izuku's former classmates were shocked to their very core, completely unable to voice it as the Green Paladin and his entourage made their way in. So these are the rest of your former peeps, Aniki? Man, and I thought we had a colorful bunch of characters in our party. These guys range from regular dude with engines in his legs to the alien-looking chick who, if I remember correctly, spits hot acid. Sweat horns, by the way. Kazuma, ever the icebreaker, spoke, getting a thumbs up from a still slack-jawed Mina, who followed up after picking her jaw off her desk. Thanks, shady-looking guy. Oi, and Midoriya-kun, is that really you? Mina finished the bit before addressing the Green Paladin in the room, asking a question that all barring 2 students had on their mind. Of course, with Izuku being his usual awkward self, he answered with a simple, yeah, it's nice to see you guys again. Sorry about the whole dying thing, but sometimes pulling an All Might tires you out a bit too much and your heart just stops. Hopefully, it's something that you'll never have to deal with. Shutting up now. Izuku did as such after Yun of all people kneed him in the sides to get him to stop. You know you screwed up when someone as socially inept as Yun tells you to zip it. Wait a minute, wait just a damn minute. Did you get ice-skate and land yourself a harem, you smooth bastard? Minta and his sidekick Kaminari connected the dots and yelled out their frustrations accordingly, which was surprisingly appreciated since it broke the awkward silence from earlier and let Aizawa segue into his plans for the day. Ah, you've already gotten fired up? Good. Since today is a bit of a special day, I've prepared a special assignment for all of you. Today you will all face Midoriya and his gaggle of new friends in a mock battle. I suggest that you get dressed quickly and head towards Training Ground Beta to prepare. You have 30 minutes. I suggest that you use them carefully, Aizawa ordered before walking out, thinking that this was for the best. Plus, this way he'd be able to relax for the day while the problem child and his group of even bigger problem children took care of training his students for him. What? I concur with your former classmates, Izuku-kun. Why exactly should we fight them just like that? Does your teacher know nothing of tact or a sense of the proper time and place? That being said, I'd be happy to take your place and take on all of these strong heroes. Just leave it to me. While Atina all but moaned at the end, more than ready to jump into a fight that would surely give her the thrill she sought. A quick smack to the head from Kazuma calmed her down. Follow your own advice, you perverted crusader. Besides, this is Aniki's fight, the green adventurer said, not really wanting to fight in the first place. Plus, having us all fight would be overkill. Any one of us could take these guys on easily. Even Yunnan could probably beat them all by herself. Megumin gave her backhanded compliment to her rival, who merely accepted it without putting much thought into it. You can't be serious. A little girl like you thinks that she can beat all of us at once. You can't be older than 12. Not to mention how scrawny you are. An insulted Sado of the Rikido variety yelled out, earning a seething glare from the equally insulted Archwizard. 12. I'm 16, you big-lipped musclehead. You're so lucky that I can't cast Explosion while indoors or I'd blow you to pieces to show you just how weak I really am. Megumin replied, showing her progress when it came to restraint. A younger Megumin would have cast Explosion regardless of her surroundings, or any insult, or for any reason in particular. Honestly. Down, girl. You'll get your chance eventually. That being said, I can't just let you kids insult one of my friends like that. How about I teach you a lesson in place of your teacher? That sketchy-looking ninja guy wanted them to fight these kids. Eris was more than willing to step in. It might even be fun. Aren't you being a bit too cocky? This is UA, the best hero school in the country. Do you really think you could take all of us on at once? Even with Midoriya-san on your side, the odds are against you. Todoroki piped up, internally curious about the strength of these strange new visitors and that of his not-so-deceased friend. Sigh, I guess we'll see. I'd rather not do this, but as guests here I guess I should follow Aizawa-sensei's methods since we've pretty much crashed his regular class time. The real problem was figuring out just how much he should hold back. It's been so long since he's last seen everyone that he might go too hard on them on accident. Oi, are you looking down on us, Midori-kun? I have a feeling that you're thinking something pretty insulting right now. Ashido pointed at her partner in poofy hair, a thin smile on her face. It was at this moment where Izuku started sweating a bit. Bo, it's on. Su-chan, hold my rings, I'm going in. You don't wear rings, Kiro. Why don't you put on some clothes instead? Suyu sassed back while pointing at their hero costume suitcases. These poor guys have no idea what they're dealing with. Looking up at Ochako, they come to a wordless agreement to stay in the back for this one on pain of what would likely be a humiliating defeat. Minutes later, Zone Beta. Izuku performed a few stretches along with his party as they prepared for his old classmate's arrival. While doing this, they began to talk strategy. So, Gauntlet. Izuku summed up his first idea of a plan. His old classmates would fight each of his party members from weakest to strongest before moving on to another should they manage to win. Now they just had to decide which of them was the weakest. Oh come on, I'm not the weakest. What about Megumin? Without her explosion spell, she's practically useless. Kazuma flailed around a bit, and he did raise a good point. I'll ignore your insolence for now, Kazuma-kun, if only because it lets me teach those doubters a lesson first. Several eye rolls later and plenty of insistence from the explosive Loli later, and it was decided that she'd fight the students first. Izuku gave her the same rules as with Chisaki, and this time he expected them to follow them. No nukes. We're here, Deku-kun. Are you guys ready? Ochako called out, effectively shooting the starting gun as far as Megumin was concerned. Said Crimson Loli wasted no time in charging into the fray, a freshly crafted wooden club in hand and a black fire in her heart, only to be immediately frozen up to her neck by Todoroki. Okay, that's a little unfair. She did manage to bat away a few of his smaller ice attacks with her relatively high strength befitting a nearly max-level character. But even that couldn't do much against several meters worth of solid ice. Did you really think that was a good idea? Midoriya-san isn't the only powerful hero to come from our class. That strength quirk is rather decent though, Todoroki says, misinterpreting Megumin's powers. He thought she had super strength. Sorry to say, pretty boy, but if you think my strength is impressive then you should probably dodge Kazuma-kun's next move. Megumin managed to sass back while desperately trying to keep her voice from wavering under the cold. The only thing that saved the peppermint-haired hero were his razor-sharp instincts and Megumin's warning. And even with that, the speed at which Kazuma's sword sliced through his freshly made ice barrier gave the ice-hot hero stain flashbacks. Damn it, Megumin, I almost had him, Kazuma cursed, going back into his lurk before the other hero students could react. A palpable anxiety fell across the locals as they realized just what they were facing. A stain-level fighter with an invisibility quirk. Mainta, Grape Trap. Momo called out while she created a few sets of infrared goggles in hopes that Kazuma's invisibility only applied to visible light. Sadly, magic was bullshit and Kazuma was technically not invisible, just hidden and very hard to see. This along with his detect trap and skill bind made the students' plans effectively useless, the only exceptions being those whose skills were a part of their very body. Takoyami, too. Jiru warned the Chicken of Darkness, giving him ample time to both block Kazuma's next slash and counterattack with Dark Shadow. While Kazuma was stuck within the Shadow Beasts, Matsuyu and Siro further wrapped him up in their respective bindings, covering the green adventurer up from head to toe. All of this set up just to give two of their heavy hitters a free shot at the seemingly fragile enemy. With twin mighty thrusts, Sadu and Shoji slammed their fists right into Kazuma's exposed stomach, or they would have, had their slippery opponent not used his escape and auto-dodge skills to shed his bindings, leaving the two muscle-bound fighters to hit his former prison, both injuring Tsuyu's tongue and leaving the two heavy hitters wrapped up with each other in ultra-durable tape. Gonna have to try harder than that. Drain touch, Kazuma taunted before casting his spell at his two bound enemies, simultaneously taking them out of the fight permanently and refreshing his own energy reserves. I'm not Anaki's third in command for nothing. And we didn't get this far by being unable to adapt. Ranged fighters, spray and pray. He can't dodge us all and his stamina isn't unlimited. Melee fighters, stay on standby if he gets hit to finish him off. Todoroki ordered, sending out his own torrent of flame at the now scared Kazuma. Focus fire was going to be rough for him. Shit. Purple balls, flying rocks, flamethrowers, and is that kid charging up an electrical attack? Sorry, Aniki. Looks like I won't last much longer. Auto dodge was being pushed to its limits and so were Kazuma's lungs. Screw it, if I'm going down, then I'm gonna go down the way Aniki would. Throwing caution to the wind, Kazuma Usain bolted towards the enemy team with all of his level-enhanced speed and threw a punch straight at the closest opponent he could find, and immediately broke his arm on Kirishima's face, knocking himself out from the shock of doing so before getting frozen solid by Todoroki to make sure the job was done. Well, he went down the way Midoriya-sen would alright. Now who's next? Kaminari made his inside joke, glad that he didn't have to waste his one-shot quirk so soon. Tap. Shivers went down Class A's spines as a few soft, yet very clear footsteps walked in towards them. A new challenger had made herself known, and what a head-turner she was when seen on her own. A godlike stance, dainty legs that held up what looked like the body of a doll, and how uncanny it really was. Not a blemish could be seen on her body, and her striking features alone caused the students to take a breath. Ara, how long has it been since mortals have given me the proper reverence? Kazuma-kun could learn a thing or two from you guys. Aqua smirked, she still had it. If you want my divine favor, then you should grant me one of your own. Stay still, will you? She said, a gigantic magical circle appearing right over the enemy team as mana became almost tangible through the air, similar to a thick humidity. Sacred create water. These 3 words broke Todoroki out of his trance along with a few others, though he was the only one who could really counter it. Everybody get back. Heaven-piercing ice wall. True to the technique's name, a giant wall of ice rose from the ground shortly in front of Todoroki, piercing through and partially stopped Aqua's heavenly rain before getting washed away shortly after. Don't be an idiot, half and half kun. You can't fight against a water goddess with ice, Aqua bragged, sticking her nose up and effectively giving her opponents free rein to counterattack. Not that they could write, just look at all that water. They totally got blown away by her divine element. This goddess sure has a lot of pride, Kiro. Time to make her fall. Throwing herself out of the freshly created flood, Tsuyu striked out at Aqua feet first, completely catching her off guard and sending her into the water she just created. You're up, charge a bolt. Right, it's a blast from the past, indiscriminate shock. 1.3 million volts, one freshly charred goddess later. And the wet, tired, and slightly battered students met up at one of the few places in Zone Beta that wasn't completely flooded. This is ridiculous. We're only 3 members in and half of us are already out of commission. What kind of weird quirks do these people have? Momo was steps away from panicking. First, that brown-haired boy took down Satu and Shoji, and now the blue-haired woman with a god complex nearly annihilated them in a single move. It was only by the grace of Todoroki's strongest ice attack that they were given the few seconds they needed to make a run for it. And even with that, most of their slower or less durable members were knocked out instantly and dragged away by the rushing current. Aoyama-san, Ajiro-san, Koda-san, Jiro-san, and Hagakure-san were all taken out. And I hate to admit it, but I'm going to be out of commission too. At least until I can warm myself back up. Todoroki gave them the bad news. His whole body was shivering from the aftermath of Aqua's attack mixed with his own ice. Even then he got off lucky, remaining conscious even though he took the brunt of that attack head on. You did amazing, Todoroki-kun. Rest up while you can. We'll just have to buy you time until you're ready. Momo's hesitance was clear. Todoroki was the best chance they had right now, but after Aqua's show of power, who could blame her for being a bit afraid of what was coming next? Clank clank, play Terminator theme. The class took a collective gasp as a new challenger approached them, a veritable wall of metal and muscle whose sheer presence commanded fear and respect, but also awe, as the powerful figure before them was equally beautiful, with her golden blonde hair and blue eyes spoke of nobility, while her face made many of the schoolgirls envious for its mature features. Stop Terminator theme. Features that were immediately ruined by the huge blush and even a bit of drool that morphed Darkness face into an extremely perverted expression. I can't believe Megumin-chan would compare me with such a monstrosity of a man. Robot, you get the point. You're all looking at me with those disgusted eyes. Such emotion from simply looking at me. How wonderful. What the actual fuck? His own perverted mind broke at the sight before him. Little did he know that his thoughts were shared with nearly all of his fellow hero students. Moan, so are you going to attack or what? Zero couldn't help to ask after several seconds of the blonde Templar staring them down. It might have been tempting fate, but it was seriously getting to him. Imagine the bootleg Spider-Man's surprise when their opponent reacted with a blush and cough. I am just preparing myself emotionally for the coming battle. I would normally pray to Eris-chan, but considering that she'll fight you later on, I don't think it would be appropriate. Anyways, I suppose you're right. As a crusader, I should be ready at all times. Darkness all but moaned her final words, images that would be inappropriate to describe in writing flashing through her mind. No, seriously, what the actual fuck is this? How can Midoriya team find such a rare specimen? A perverted, dare I say, masochistic holy knight. Just what kind of bullshit luck was this? Where was mind as sexy for an Amazonian masochist, huh? Darkness following moans was the straw that broke the grape's skin. Let's take this one down already so that I mean we can get to that green-haired bastard quicker. Grape shot rush, plus ultra style. The little pervert proceeded to throw his balls around the crusader in a mostly random pattern. The blonde knight almost immediately getting caught in the trap as she tried to swat the balls out of the air only to miss completely and get her sword stuck on one of the balls that fell on the ground. Darkness grunted in frustration as she tried to pull her weapon out of its sticky trap. And to her credit, she did manage to tear out the concrete below the ball successfully, only to fall backward after losing her balance, landing on the rest of the balls. Wait, that's not fair. The fight can't be over already. Hey, get back here. It's not over until I yield or fall you unconscious. Her cries were ignored much to her pleasure. The members of Class 1 never looked back. They were already scarred for life enough as it was. Thankfully, their next opponent was significantly more normal. Waganawa Yun. Prepare to face the might of the second greatest mage of the Crimson Demon clan. Did I do good, Megumin-chan? The remaining students' sweat dropped as the self-proclaimed mage immediately asked the still half-frozen loli for approval, to which she received an unsteady thumbs up. Yeah, I mean, thank you, Megumin-chan, mistress of explosions. Now, as former allies of my leader, I shall show you my full effort. Prepare yourselves. Light of Saber. The only thing that saved most of the students from suffering some serious burns was Yun's excessive posturing as a beam of light erupted towards them. Most were able to react to her hand motions and dodged accordingly, but some weren't so lucky or were simply too slow. Todoroki, who had already exhausted himself and was still recovering, was the first to fall. The spell hit him almost straight on, sending him flying into the building they came from. Minta was too busy staring at Yun's jiggling breasts, while she was posing to dodge properly, and fell soon after. And finally, Kirishima made the mistake of trying to block the attack instead of dodging, leaving him with some nasty burns and internal damage as the attack hit his body directly and sent him flying where Todoroki went. Flamethrow Yun was interrupted from her spellcasting by several rubber bullets hitting her right in the back courtesy of Momo. However, this was just a distraction. The moment that Yun changed her focus to the raven-haired hero, she was left wide open to an attack from Tokoyami's Dark Shadow. An attack that Yun saw coming and prepared a quick wind blade to counter. Huh, you fell for it? Taste acid. Mina yelled from below, having tunneled under Yun using her acid, which now created a sinkhole filled with the corrosive liquid for Yun to fall straight into. At least, she would have if it weren't for Eris' timely intervention. The silver-haired goddess caught the poor mage before she fell in. I apologize for the interruption, but Yun-chan had clearly lost anyway. Nice work with the diversionary tactics, by the way, kids. That looked like one of my old tricks from when I was an adventurer. The goddess complimented, for what else could she be? This lady had a very similar presence to the blue thing from earlier, though slightly different and much more elegant. That being said, I can't allow you to make it to Izuku-kun. While you kids are all very strong, it would be rather embarrassing for us top-tier adventurers to lose to you, even if it was a one versus many scenario each time and they were forced to hold back their more dangerous abilities. I am Eris, the goddess of fortune. Please forgive me, but I won't be able to hold back very much against such a diverse group. No later after saying that, Eris activated her lurk skill and disappeared from sight. The hunt was on. Ashido-kun, spread out your acid. This quirk is similar to the one that the green mantle-wearing one used. We should be able to see her coming if the surrounding area is disturbed. Ida took charge immediately, alarm bells going off in his and everyone else's heads as another stealthy opponent made themselves known. Truthfully, the remaining class of students were already resigning themselves to failure. They were only up to their opponent's second in command, and already nearly half of their number were out of commission. Ada was more than prepared to go down fighting, though. What kind of hero would he be if he wasn't? Your bravery is admirable, but it won't be that easy. Skills and magic tend to defy the rules of logic half the time. Ada heard a voice from right in front of him just before his hero costume was cut completely in half, and now he was pretty much catatonic from the stained flashbacks he was getting. Well, that's a new reaction. I'm sure there's a story behind this, Eris said, smiling as she automatically dodged a piece of tape thrown by Zero without changing her expression at all. Again, nice try, but the game ends here. Unlike Kazuma-kun, I have far more experience in live combat. diversionary tactics, and sneak attacks won't work. Steal, she shouted the moment that she spotted the raven-haired hero creating something behind her back. Those pink sparkles were quite eye-catching. And so were the things she was creating. Ew, these are quite nice, though I prefer my weapons a bit more subtle. Here, you can have them back. Eris giggled before throwing the 2 flashbang grenades back to their creator, which of course caused the poor students to panic a bit and forced the tape hero to grab them out of the air in hopes of throwing them off course. Sadly, fortune was simply not on their side. The wind caught Zero's long strand and sent the attached flashbangs straight downwards towards their original target, just in time for them to detonate. Bang! From there, Eris took her sweet time making a few quick cuts into the backs of Takoyami, Momo, and Mina, only stopping when her knife made a clinking noise on Kirishima's skin. Clink 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 huh. Oh well, I'll save you for last, tough guy, she said. But before she could move on to the next student, she found a suspiciously warm object wrapped around her waist. Oh, that's just weird. She managed to cry out before being slammed into the building where the blonde crusader was still stuck, trapping the silver-haired goddess in a rather compromising position. I guess she was exaggerating about her immunity to surprise attacks, Kiro. Looks like we got lucky that Kirishima-chan's quirk distracted her for just long enough. I guess that just leaves Tsuyu was caught off mid-sentence by a rush of wind that sent the 4 surviving students flying back several meters. The rest of the fake city wasn't so lucky though. The destruction that simply appeared around them could only be equaled by the sheer devastation of the Camino incident. And even then, those who were there to witness it firsthand could have sworn that the pressure they felt from the green hero who caused the destruction made all for one pale in comparison. It just leaves me, right? Izuku said, voice loud and clear despite speaking in a normal volume. His eyes appeared to burn with green flames and his body radiated power similar to his old full cowling, though much more contained. If the old power was likened to an electric current, visible for all to see, this form was more like a second skin, barely noticeable unless you were physically close to him. You guys did a number on my party, you should be proud. At your level you would be treated as high-level adventurers in Belzerk, maybe even world-class. That being said, Izuku appeared right in front of Kirishima, the wind blowing wildly as he did, showing that this was a feat of pure speed, not stealth. There's a reason why I'm their leader. A finger flick was all it took to take the redhead out of the fight. There wasn't even any shockwave. A simple poke and Kirishima fell to the floor. Whether that was an act of pure strength, skill, or something else was left to the students' imaginations. And it was fucking terrifying. Zero shot out a piece of tape out of sheer instinct, a smile appearing on his face when it made contact, only for that smile to disappear and be replaced by a slack-jawed face when it suddenly crumbled and turned to dust as if Shigaraki had grabbed it the moment it touched Izuku's face. Unless you're faster than All Might, physical attacks won't work on me. I'll count that as your first freebie. You have 2 more attempts to take me down before I end this. He gave them a fair shot. While Izuku didn't want this to go on for longer than it needed to, he also wanted to see just what they could do. Wait, seriously? You'll just let us land a hit? Zero asked. Was Izuku that confident that nothing they could do could hurt him? The 2 girls looked at each other knowingly and nodded as one. If this didn't work, nothing would, at least not without their human 3D printer on standby. Ochako ran up and tagged Izuku in the chest. Not that she needed to, since he didn't move an inch from his position. This continued as Tsuyu grappled him and sent him straight into the air in the direction of Zero, who used the opportunity to grab the flying Izuku once he went to the edge of his range before slamming him back down to the ground with all his strength. Izuku's weightlessness making him go several times faster than what would be normal, leaving a decently sized crater in the ground when he made contact. Silence reigned as the dust settled from the earlier impact. Nobody could bear to make a sound or even breathe. The results of their attack made themselves known. Not bad. That almost broke my finger. Izuku's voice was heard from the crater as he stood up, lightly massaging his pinky finger, which looked a bit red, right up until it suddenly regained its natural coloration as if nothing happened. Pretty cool, huh? And before you ask, no, that wasn't regeneration. I'll tell you about my transmutation skill later, but first, as soon as the last word was heard, the 3 students felt a sense of drowsiness take over them. They tried fighting the effects as best they could, but it was no use. They were asleep in moments. There. It's too bad, really. I was hoping for a challenge, but I guess that was asking too much. Looking around, Izuku took note of the property damage that his party and former classmates caused throughout the fight. A sweat drop formed. Just like old times. Now to find Aqua. These guys probably need healing after everything. Of course, he already collected the unconscious or otherwise injured bodies of his classmates and put them in a safe place. One of the perks of having super speed and all. As luck would have it, Aqua had already regained consciousness and went on to heal both their party and the Class 1A students, so that by the time Izuku made it back to the ground entrance, they were already walking around and chatting with each other. Good to see that there are no hard feelings between them. Now for the awkward part. mind as unholy screams prevented Izuku from speaking up. A quick look of concern and curiosity towards the rest of class and Kazuma, in particular, gave him his answer. He's jealous of you for having a harem of beautiful girls. Ah, so just mind to things. Made sense. Granted, so am I, along with the rest of the straight male population, but that's just excessive. Seriously, crying blood in the corner. Even a former hickey neat like Kazuma found that pathetic. And considering that you aren't spontaneously combusting or denying anything, I guess they were telling the truth. Good work, Midoriya-sama. Kaminari praised his clear superior as a man. He could only hope that being in the presence of such a figure would improve his own chances in the game of love. Okay, did Kaminari still not realize that a certain indigo-haired rock star was crushing on him? Granted, it wasn't as obvious as Kazuma and Aqua's relationship, but still. Ignoring that for the moment, do you guys have any questions for us? Now that we went through with Aizawa-sensei's wishes, we have some time for ourselves. I'm willing to answer any questions you may have. It took all of a millisecond before the students jumped over themselves with their own question. Chuckling a bit, Izuku picked a student at random to get the question gauntlet rolling. What did you do to knock me out so quickly? I didn't even see you move or feel anything. I just blinked it. Then I woke up here. Kirishima couldn't help but hide the fear in his voice. Good friend or not, what Izuku did was terrifying to the usually durable rock boy. Sorry about that, by the way. I needed to end the fight quickly, you understand. Izuku apologized before explaining. When I died, I was given the option to go to another world with 2 gifts, one of which was the ability to transmute any material or energy that I could touch into something else. He let the implications of such a power sink in. The more scientifically literate of his former classmates already cycling through ideas in their heads. I changed the oxygenated blood in your brain at the moment of contact into deoxygenated blood, starving the brain of oxygen for a few seconds and knocking you out instantly. Of course, this only lasted for a literal heartbeat. The moment that blood left through the veins, oxygen-rich blood flowed back in and would have woken you up eventually even without Aqua-chan. It was pretty much a completely non-traumatic knockout. Painless, quick, and unstoppable. Holy shit, that's broken. Izuku's own party nodded sagely. They knew this well. What about the way you healed your finger, Kiro? You mentioned that it wasn't related to any healing factor. Was it magic? You asked. Izuku was actually rather proud about this one. It was a neat trick that he picked up from his studies using the Trans-Universal Tablet, specifically the modern medical knowledge that it could provide. Basically speaking, I turned a small bit of my plasma and turned it into some anti-inflammatory medication. Nothing too strong, of course, just enough to calm down the sore muscles while they healed. If I had actually broken a bone, I would have needed quite a bit more. Or I could have just searched for Aqua-chan, of course. His trick was useful but unnecessary half the time due to their resident goddess of healing. But a backup plan was never a bad thing. Is that what you did with my tape? You just turned it to dust? Shiro asked. A simple nod gave him his answer. So it didn't even have to touch a specific part of Izuku's body. Scary. So it's similar to my own creation. Wait a second. You said you could turn energy into matter. Can you do the reverse? Momo picked up on the implications of that little trick almost instantly. And if Izuku's pale face was anything to go by, she had gotten it right. Remind me never to make you angry, Midoriya-kun. I second that. Third, and so on. Izuku sighed dramatically, a ghost of a smile on his face. I guess I'll never get away from my reputation as an overpowered hero. Oh well, it beats being quirkless, I guess. The confused looks that his classmates gave him reminded him that he still had a few secrets to share. That's right, I forgot. I guess with everything that's happened, it's only fair to be transparent with you all. Let me tell you a story about 2 brothers, a certain power, a great hero, and the quirkless boy that he placed his faith in. And that's the story of how I got to join my Dream Hero Academy. Everything after that is history, or my adventures after dying, I guess, but that will take way longer to go over. Izuku finished recounting the story of One for All and All for One, a story whose drama was undercut quite sharply when Aqua clapped at the end as if it were the first time she heard it. Bravo, Izuku-kun. I knew those storytelling lessons were a good idea. Though telling a story that's still going on is kinda weird. Maybe we should end it soon to make it flow better. She said as if getting rid of this world's most powerful villain was so simple. And if Izuku's party was being honest, it probably would be given their track record. She's not wrong, you know. You could totally sell your autobiography and have it become a bestseller with everything you've been through. I guess the same applies to All Might Sensei too. Either of them releasing an autobiography would guarantee them quite a bit of income by virtue of their reputation alone. All Might for obvious reasons and Izuku for his future revelation. Probably. Izuku didn't even try to deny it. Speaking of revealing personal information to the general public, I have to get ready for my meeting with the Japanese, the top 10 heroes, and probably a few other governments too. Izuku gave a heavy sigh. He had his work cut out for him. Don't worry, we'll be there to help you through it all. With a noblewoman, 2 goddesses, and a future village chief, there's no way anything could go wrong. The moment Aqua says this, Kazuma pulls out a flask of hard alcohol and nearly downs the whole thing. A thief goddess, a useless goddess, a masochistic noblewoman, and the future village chief for a race of Chunobiyu wizards. A net death flag. Hours later, Diet Building, House of Representatives. Well, the blood tests have come back and we can confirm without a shadow of a thought that the 2 men in front of us are in fact Midoriya Izuku and Yagi Toshinori. This is going to take so much paperwork, the Japanese Prime Minister muttered as he read through the report in front of him. Though if he were being honest, having the formerly dead #1 hero with him in the flesh along with his formerly dead student was taking up most of his attention. I have several questions. Hawk spoke up from his seat alongside the rest of Japan's top 10 heroes, who along with the people's representatives made up Japan's leadership. That goes without saying. I hardly believe the situation myself. Hell, I wouldn't believe it at all if these 2 weren't standing right in front of me. Though I'm still a bit iffy about the god stuff. Mirko added her 2 cents. The blue one, in particular, was starting to get on her nerves with her childishness and antics with the scruffy-looking guy. Granted, we aren't the ones in control of this world's afterlife. We only have the right to recruit the deceased youth into our world if they agree to help. My apologies, but this Earth's pantheon decided to remain anonymous long ago, so I can't speak about it much further. Eris answered in response, fully aware that her fellow goddess wasn't giving these people the best example. Right, about that. We aren't exactly comfortable with your usage of our young citizens as child soldiers. A random representative spoke up. And we aren't comfortable with the highly propagandized hero society that has been built. Is what we do really any different from having kids grow up with the idea of fighting bad guys on the streets as a glamorous career? Eris gave the generic response of the gods to such a question. Honestly, humans could be so hypocritical without even realizing it. Now you see here, that's enough. Let's save the moral debate for another time. For now, we need to address the recent actions of Midoriya Izuku in what has been labeled the Shai Hasakai incident. While I understand that the mission was a success according to Night Eye, that does not change the fact that it was done by a bunch of unlicensed minors. They wanted to hear the party's side of the story. It's simple really. We were brought back right as the raid was being planned, most likely due to the meddling of a prankster god that we're acquainted with, and we found out about what the criminal group was doing. I made the decision to rescue their hostage immediately and erase their organization myself. Izuku explained his reason. He had nothing to apologize for and he'd have done it again if it meant saving someone in need. You expect us to just accept that? To allow an undocumented and uncontrolled force to deal with our domestic issues without clearance or even a warning? They tried to turn it into an issue of national security and jurisdiction. Not that it really mattered to the group in front of them. I don't expect you to do anything. And quite frankly, I don't care about your approval. Someone was in danger and I saved them. If a similar situation were to happen again, I'd do the same thing. Izuku was a hero first and foremost. Legalities and public opinions were secondary or tertiary concerns at best for him. Damn straight kid. I also heard that you took out their organization yourself. Is this true or did you have help from the color-coded fantasy group behind you? Mirko for one approved of the Greenette's attitude, though she was curious about what was the deal with the otherworlders. Nah, we took care of the mooks ourselves, though we weren't prepared to fight that Chisaki guy, so I went to get Aniki just in case. Though from what I heard he wasn't that tough, he just had a strong ability. The 5 of them could have probably taken him, but the mooks and Megumin's mana exhaustion would have probably made the fight difficult. Better safe than sorry. Izuku-kun took care of them all after that, with just a finger flick too for style. And to top it all off, yours truly got the final hit on the boss. The dummy should have surrendered if he didn't want a god blow to the brain. Aqua added to Mirko's amusement, the bunny battler thinking that she was being hyperbolic. Ah yes, now that we're on the topic of murder. Mirko's ears dropped at the news. Criminal or not, you did kill a Japanese citizen on our soil. And as of now, the only thing keeping you here instead of in a jail cell are the words of the heroes and the fact that Chisaki Kai is somehow still alive. Care to explain that one by the way? As if you can hold any of us against our will, let alone Izuku-kun. And isn't it obvious? I'm a goddess, so I just revived the bird brain, duh. Someone in the crowd choked on their tea while the rest had to manage with their own saliva at Aqua's comment. Even more so when they saw All Might nodding nonchalantly as if nothing unusual had been said. Aqua-chan, please don't insult Izuku-kun's old government. Wars have been fought for less, though they could certainly try to imprison me, maybe even no. Hold it together, darkness, this is professional time. The blonde had learned some degree of restraint after co-ruling Axel alongside her party. Moving along. The Prime Minister himself spoke up. He wanted to get things done quickly. Focusing on arcane legal nonsense would only make this meeting last forever. We can at least all agree that nothing of value was lost from this and the situation was resolved without any collateral damage. For that, we thank you, Midoriya-san. He gives a small bow of acknowledgement, surprising many. It's appreciated, but we were just doing what we thought was right. Speaking of which, the Kingdom of Belzerg would like to open up diplomatic relations with Japan. I come with the authority of a duke as well as the co-ruler of the city of Axel. Izuku revealed to the surprise of his fellow natives. For a variety of reasons. Kingdom, Duke, this other world is an absolute monarchy. Endeavor was surprisingly the one to speak up, intrigued by the novelty of it if nothing else. The two strongest military powers, Belzerg and the Demon King's country, are absolute monarchies, though the Dwarven country and Imperium of Man are a republic and theocracy respectively. No, they don't have a god-emperor, thankfully. None that Izuku knew of anyway. He sure hoped that they didn't have something resembling the divine emperor of his world's fictional Imperium. Many a nerd in the audience wiped a bit of sweat off their brow. Everybody's favorite grimdark game was still popular even so far into the hero era. Will this be a purely diplomatic relationship or an economic one? And how do you plan to facilitate trade or a transfer of information with this other world? They were made aware of their portal technology by Night Eye ahead of time, but it would still be difficult to do much with it. We can work out economic trade deals later. I'm sure that we can each provide something useful to the other. As for the logistics problem, we do have a way to make the portals larger so transportation isn't an issue. There is a bit of a language gap, but my party should be able to help with that. They had all been taught the basics of Japanese by the goddesses and the three natives, and even a bit of English by All Might. Darkness was well versed in learning foreign languages from her roots in the nobility. And the two Crimson Demons simply loved the idea of learning exotic and cool-sounding languages to mix up their incantations. Very well, we would be happy to accept your offer, and we expect to meet your leader in the near future. Should we come to them or will they come to us? Darkness answered the latter. Apparently, King Belzerg wanted to go on a vacation after the decades of on and off war. Iris was also coming apparently, leaving the first Prince Jadis to run the kingdom while they were gone. If I may ask, how is this king like? Strict, easygoing, polite. Several awkward seconds passed before Izuku decided to answer the question. Intense. Intense would be the best word for it, I think. Expect him to test your nerve in the first meeting, but afterward, he'll let you know exactly how he feels about each of you. Otherwise, he doesn't stand on formality too much and is fairly even-tempered as far as I've seen. Lucky for Japan, the king already had a decently positive image of the country and its people in his mind. After all, most if not all of Belzerg's greatest heroes were Japanese or at least descended from them. A few of the representatives took this positively. Apparently, they enjoyed the idea of a direct politician who didn't beat around the bush or connive in the background. It was a nice change of pace, to say the least, though a few were apprehensive about meeting an absolute monarch who had ruled a wartime nation for decades. Fair enough. While we are on the topic, may we ask how a teenager like yourself achieved the title of a duke? You a hero student or not? Such a thing is rather hard to believe. Granted, this kid apparently had the backing of All Might himself and the support of a goddess or two, but still, having that kind of social, political mobility in a couple of years was just downright shocking. He took out several enemy generals, destroyed a giant mechanical spider that was considered a natural disaster for centuries, brought peace to the country, and then negotiated an alliance with the formerly warring nations. And were great friends with Princess Iris, so that might have something to do with it. Houston, we lost contact. The representatives and even most of the heroes listening performed their best bug impression at what Megumin described. Holy shit, it's All Might all over again. Yo kid, you wanna spar sometime soon? Mirko jumped at the opportunity presented to her. She was unable to ask All Might himself for a spar before he went and lost his powers. But now not only was he back and as strong as ever, but there was another younger and supposedly similarly strong hero. The battle-loving bunny could barely keep herself from starting the spar that very moment. Sure, I don't mind, but is this really the best time to ask? Anyways, I plan to stick around in this world for a good deal of time, maybe a few weeks. I'm sure that we can arrange something within that time. Izuku accepted, a bit taken aback at the blatant offer in front of the national diet of all things. So soon? Is there something that requires your attention in the other world that limits your time in your homeworld? A question of loyalty, and a poorly hidden one at that. The one who asked was already giving glared for his lack of tact, but the question itself was bound to happen eventually. My position isn't just for show. I have responsibilities to the town of Axel, the kingdom of Belzerg, and the overall peace between it and our former enemy. My first loyalty is to my friends and family. My second loyalty is to the innocent. There are many innocent people back in Belzerg that rely on me. I can't just up and leave after everything we've been through. His old family and his new one. He would protect both to the very end, but he couldn't do that if he tied himself down to one world or another. Very well, we won't take much more of your time. We only need to write up some documentation for your friends while they stay here. I hope you understand. Izuku really did. The bureaucracy was annoying admittedly, but it would also mean that his party could be given the proper status and protections that foreign diplomats deserve. Oh, come on, why do we have to go through all that boring paperwork anyway? I want to try out some of this world's wine. Did you know that quirks can be used to artificially age them by centuries at a time? Some of them would need those protections more than others. Sigh, I'll go warn the police and public safety agencies. A surprisingly common response came from one of the representatives. They had to go through similar motions whenever a particularly problematic hero made their debut. So much collateral damage, so many lawsuits. Hours after the Diet meeting, the Konosuba party was taking some time off, sightseeing across Tokyo, and overall having a grand old time. Well, most of them were anyway. Izuku and All Might were a bit too busy keeping the chaotic energies of their comrades in check, with limited success. Kazuma, is this Japan and your Japan the same so far? This place just seems so wonderful that it's hard to believe you're from here. Megumin backhanded the compliment of Kazuma's homeland as hard as she could. Yes, I'm Kazuma. If you want to pick a fight, just say so. I don't care if you're Anaki's girl or not, you're still in my steel range. Kazuma answered dryly, holding his hand up towards the main crimson loli. Kazuma-kun, please don't do that in public. Megumin-chan, if you stop insulting Kazuma for the day, I'll take you that Godzilla movie you were interested in later. This was one of many peacemaking attempts Izuku had to do throughout the day. Thankfully, it was enough to calm the two down. For now anyway. Ooh, Izuku-kun, look. Could these be my people? Their excellence rivals that of the Crimson Demons. Megumin shouted excitedly while pointing at a bunch of cosplayers that were congregating around them for some reason. Don't point, Megumin-chan, it's rude. And I'll buy you some of those costumes later if you want, but we should get something to eat first. Aqua-chan doesn't seem to have much patience left. Izuku lightly scolded, though he did find it strange that so many people were looking at them. He wondered why. If I may make a recommendation, I own a high-class restaurant that should be nearby. Or used to own, I suppose. I'm not too sure how the legalities with that work. All Might in his new health spoke up, immediately demonstrating why they had so many eyes on them. Izuku had legitimately forgotten that having All Might on your side was such an attention grabber. Doubly so when he was legally dead not even a day ago. Holy shit, is that All Might? Wasn't he dead? And he looks way healthier than he did in the Camino fight. Could it be divine intervention? Aqua and Eris twitched at this. One acted on that twitch. No prizes for guessing who. That's right. The beautifully divine Aqua-sama has returned your greatest hero to you better than ever. Aqua began before Kazuma smacked her in the back of the head, annoyance clear on his face. I mean, it was a group effort. Izuku Midoriya, divine champion of the padded goddess Eris, and his party helped too, I guess. Please stop, Aqua-chan. We're already causing a scene as it is. Seeing that they weren't going to get out of this without giving these people something, Izuku decided to feed them enough information to leave his party alone for now. 50% should be enough for this, he thought before clapping his hands, sending a powerful but ultimately harmless shockwave out around him, shutting up and grabbing the attention of the people. That's enough. To answer your questions, yes, this is All Might, and yes, he has returned from the dead along with myself. We're still trying to readjust ourselves, so please try not to bother us right now. All of your questions will likely be answered in the coming press conference that will be made public by the end of the day, so keep an eye on the news if you're curious. A peace offering in a power play. The display of power was enough to make the audience step back, and the information he gave was enough to satisfy their curiosity for the time being. Wow, and to think that just a year ago you were scared of attracting the attention of a small neighborhood. Now you're controlling a situation like this so easily. It's really impressive how much you've changed, Izuku-kun, Eris said while appreciating the aura of authority that her champion was exuding. Tell me about it. Midoriya-kun has changed so much that I hardly recognize him, a voice said from behind their group. The party turned to see Class 1A approaching them, led by a certain dual-haired teen. I'd say going to another world did you some good, but then again. Todoroki looked at Aqua and Kazuma, who started arguing again out of nowhere. Belzerg has its ups and downs, and taking care of these troublemakers is a major reason for how I am now, Izuku said wistfully. He had to grow up quickly when dealing with his new friends. It's nice to see you all again. Since we're all here, want to join us for lunch? My treat. Izuku had already traded in a bit of their Belzerg currency at a local pawn shop, so money wasn't an issue. Silver and gold coins were rather valuable after all. We wouldn't want to be a burden. I'll pay my share. Ochako tried to argue, but Izuku just waved her off. And surprisingly, so did everyone else. It's fine. Aniki just transferred some of our currency into yen. We have more than enough to pay for everyone without even putting a dent in our funds, Kazuma said while pulling out a thick wad of 10,000 yen notes. Even the cheapest person in the party couldn't care less over such small sums at this point. If they weren't talking in millions, he didn't stress about it. All but the bluest of blooded hero students had their jaws drop at the casual show of wealth, and even Ida. who, while not from a family of millionaires, was rather well off, couldn't help but widen his eyes. Of course, a certain raven-haired young woman failed to read the mood and had no idea that such a thing was uncommon, so she just went with it. In that case, thank you for your generosity. We would be happy to join you. I'm sure many of us want to catch up with Midoriya-san and learn more about his new teammates. Leave it to Momo to look past a ridiculous show of wealth like it was nothing. Where is the restaurant, All Might Sensei? Or I suppose I should call you Yagi-san now. Either is fine. I've been All Might for over 50 years, to the point that it feels strange to be called by my real name sometimes. The restaurant should only be about a kilometer that way. I'll lead the way. Some would even say that the title of All Might had supplanted his original name long ago. All Might it is. The habit was already ingrained in them. Kaminari already knew it would take him a while to break it. Now, let's get to the juicy stuff. I know we joked about it back in class, but are these girls really part of your harem, dude? Come on, no need to be shy. Even with all his experience, Izuku couldn't help but blush at this. Eris immediately went on the attack with no mercy. He's right, you know, there's no need to be shy. Aqua-chan has her old married couple routine with Kazuma-kun, but the rest of us are exclusively Izuku's. Well, there are more back home, but they probably don't want us talking about it so freely. Iris' future as Izuku's wife was a poorly held secret, but a secret nonetheless. Lucky bastard, he even has a goddess of all things. What's next? A princess. 2 goddesses actually, and yes, Aqua on the other hand had no knowledge of the concept of subtlety. And we're not an old married couple. I'm still a pure young maiden, you faker. She yelled at Eris, giving the pads on her chest a quick jab which easily broke the fortune goddess' cool exterior. That's enough, you two. I tolerate this back home and even during quests, but we're guests here. Please try to behave. Izuku's interference shut them both up, their backs going straight on instinct. They both knew not to test their leader when he put his foot down. Good. Now keep that up at least until we finish our meal. Looks like we're here. Speaking of the restaurant, why was Izuku not surprised that it was the single most American thing he'd ever seen in his life? And this was coming from the guy who once owned damn near every piece of All Might merchandise in circulation, and even a few that weren't. Some of the options had a whole kilogram of meat in it along with several side options. There were dozens of soft drinks to choose from, milkshakes, and even protein shakes were available. And the main courses, steak, pork cutlets, fried chicken, all of the above, and even something called a turducken, just standing outside of the entrance was threatening to clog up their arteries. Kazuma, however, was almost in tears for one very good reason. It's finally here. I can finally eat beef again. Ever since we got sent to Belzer, we quickly came to realize that most of the generic farm animals we became used to eating in Japan were missing. Instead, low-tier monsters like the giant frogs took their place. Don't get them wrong, the monsters were surprisingly tasty. But there was just something nostalgic about being able to eat regular meat again, or whatever passed for regular in the land of excess. I can always magic away the cholesterol or get Aqua to heal me afterward. Might as well enjoy ourselves. It was a bit difficult to service the entire party plus almost all of Class 1A, but in the end, they made do. Kazuma decided to sit with the perverted trio of Mainta, Kaminari, and kinda but not really Zero, their personalities seemingly clicking together like old friends. Yun and Megumin were sitting with Takoyami, Ashido, and Kirishima, going full chuny as they told tales of their adventures back in Belzerk, though they barely needed to inflate their stories considering how crazy they were to start with. It was around the time they went over the Beldia incident that the students couldn't take it anymore and nearly fell over themselves laughing. Izuku couldn't help but pout. He might have been angry in any other circumstance, but having 2 beauties on either side of you and several more sitting across from you does wonders for quelling anger. Speaking of which, Eris and Darkness were telling their own stories about his and his party's misadventures. Well, Darkness was telling the story in the most morally compromising way possible while Eris was doing damage control after the comedy ran its course. The worst part was that Momo, Ochako, and Todoroki were eating it up without question. Izuku had gotten more disbelieving stares in the last 5 minutes than he had in the whole previous month, and for him, that was saying something. And then he tossed the destroyer into the air so far that we lost sight of it like it was nothing. Now if only he did that to me. Darkness couldn't help but let out that last comment. She had to hold herself back for the last few hours and it was finally getting to her. Boy, it wasn't nothing. That stunt broke every bone in my body. I was just lucky that Wiz-chan could teleport and Aqua-chan didn't waste time healing me. Otherwise, I might have found myself in Japan a lot sooner. That was the closest he'd come to death since Muscular, and under very similar circumstances. Thank Aqua for bullshit healing. You're welcome, the water goddess said from the other table. Alright, praying actually worked with that girl. My only regret was never learning more magic skills before I switched my class to Paladin. Teleport, in particular, would have been so useful, but I suppose Yun-Chan already plays the role of our utility caster, or as much as one as a member of the Crimson Demons could be. Wiz filled the role better, but she wasn't technically part of the party. Deku-kun keeps doing unreasonable but amazing things even in another world. It's good to see that they recognize you as a real hero though, and according to All Might Sensei you even managed to beat him. Now everybody shut up at that. Even the uninvolved people sitting across from the main group. This they had to hear. Ooh, that was a good one. Axel's GDP pretty much doubled right after we sold the footage to other cities. And almost tripled if you count the free mining these two monsters did by creating that crater. Apparently, wastelands have a ton of mineral resources if you go deep enough. Kazuma chimed in. He had a lot of fun balancing that one. He loved his job sometimes. It was a difficult battle with many twists and turns. I even got to try out a bit of swordsmanship, though I'm little more than a novice at it. But in the end, young Midoriya managed to grasp victory with his own two hands. Or his black whip if I'm remembering the name right. Izuku gave a thumbs up with said new quirk. He had managed to get it under control for the most part since unlocking it, though he was still hesitant to use it on living things that were any less durable than All Might or Darkness. I'm just amazed that you won, or that you can even hold your own against All Might of all people in such a short amount of time. Just know that I haven't given up on being number one yet, Midoriya-kun. Whether it's you, All Might, or my father, I won't give up until I surpass you all. Todoroki voiced what some of the other students were thinking. Though, if they were being honest with themselves, yeah, they weren't going to reach All Might or Izuku's level anytime soon. I'd appreciate that actually. As strong as we are, we can't be everywhere at once. Not yet anyway. Who knows what could be possible in the future. We'll need great heroes to keep the peace in both worlds. Speaking of which, are any of you interested in visiting? That immediately perked everyone up from their somewhat self-deprecating slump. Are you serious? Can we? That would be so cool. Visiting a magical medieval world. Castles, magic, beautiful female knights. Minda didn't even attempt to hide his true intentions. Darkness' reaction to the blatant desire only made it worse. Sure, I don't see why not. Winter break should be coming up soon for you guys, right? You can stay over at our place while you visit. We have plenty of empty rooms available, and furnishing them would be no problem. Kazuma guessed based on his own world's school schedule. Thankfully, hero schools follow a similar one. Is it really okay? Sure, you guys are rich, at least with how easily you flaunt those stacks of cash, but can you really house 20+ people on such short notice? Just the idea of it shocked Ochako. Even more so when they said they'd provide the furnishing and daily necessities on top of housing. PFFD, if anything, we should have done something like this a long time ago. Even with all the new additions like Wiz-chan and Walbok-chan, we still have plenty of empty rooms in the mansion. Having more people around will finally give the maids something to do other than routine cleaning or babysitting the childish goddess. Aqua quickly agreed with Kazuma, not realizing that she was the childish goddess in question instead of Eris. Choking noises. Mansion. Achako's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets at the thought of Izuku and his friends owning a mansion. Ah, my mistake. It's more accurate to call it an estate since we own the land around it too. And technically the city too ever since Aniki got promoted. If, for example, the parents of each student wanted to come with them to watch over their kids and enjoy a vacation in another world along with them, they could easily book a few rooms at an inn for all of them. If push came to shove, the Konosuba party could realistically house and take care of a small town on rather short notice if needed. Holy shit. Momo, I think we finally found someone that gives you a run for your money. Gyro jested at her best friend, and joking aside, Momo was legitimately impressed. Her own family acquired their wealth from a long and prosperous career as pro-heroes throughout the generations. Yet Izuku and his honorary family achieved similar, if not better results in only a year. To the young heroine in training, it just further proved how successful and talented her old classmate was, and how far she had to go to reach that level. I think that's a lovely idea. Aizawa-sensei hasn't mentioned anything about needing to prepare for winter, so I think we're free for that break. Who would say no at the chance of visiting another world? Sounds great. I'll make sure that the guards are ready to give you all an honored welcome to Axel. All Might promised, one that he'd deliver with all his authority as captain of said guards. We'll have a festival. Ever since the war ended, Axel's citizens have been flush with cash but without much to spend it on. This should help them out too. You can just cause a festival with little to no notice. Ada asked in incredulity. Young Ada, any one of us can enter town and cause a city-wide party on a whim if we wanted to. There was something to be said about having such a positive influence on people. Granted, All Might already had that, but it felt far more personal in Axel, less commercialized. People there loved him for being Toshinori just as much as the captain of the guard. It felt good. Hey Toshi, you got any big girl drinks around here or what? Aqua asked, thoroughly ruining the mood. This bubbly stuff is nice and all, but I need some of the good stuff. A single thought went through the minds of those in the know. Is she really a goddess? Shamelessly asking for alcohol out of nowhere like that? Not in public, Aqua-chan. I'll grab you some bottles from back home when we get back to my house. Appeasement was the best way to deal with Aqua without getting into a shouting match. Apparently, this was shocking to his classmates. Do you drink too, Deku-kun? You seem awfully nonchalant about that. All Might Sensei too, now that I think about it. Ochako was one of the most surprised, having known Izuku the best. She knew he changed a lot, but this was a more mundane surprise than the others. Izuku shrugs. Different world, different laws. The drinking age is flexible for adventurers. You're pretty much allowed to do whatever you want, but you're expected to take responsibility for your actions. And yes, I drink occasionally, though it doesn't really affect me because of my skills. The taste and burn are just nice. Aqua chuckled at that. You Japanese can be such spoil sports. A little booze never hurt anyone. And it's good for the heart. Whether she was talking about actual health benefits or the drunken feeling she loved so much was anyone's guess. Then again, this was Aqua they were talking about. It was probably a 20/80th split. By the way, Midoriya-kun, is there anything we should know about before coming with you to the other world? Any laws that we should be aware of? Momo asked, trying to get away from the previous topic. Besides, she wouldn't want to unknowingly offend anyone in Axel. Not particularly. Basic laws apply, though you will all be given political leniency for anything barring a major crime. Just be aware that you may see some monsters when you visit, as our kingdoms have recently made an alliance with each other. Please be tolerant of them. He wouldn't want a fight to break out because of a misconception or misunderstanding. And feel free to bring your hero costumes if you want. There are no quirk laws in Belzerg, of course, and if by some act of randomness you find a criminal stupid enough to act in our town, feel free to take them down. It would be good practice. A burst of excitement went through the hero students over the opportunity to stretch their metaphorical legs with their quirks. Some of the more boisterous students all but screamed in excitement, which reminded Izuku of something. Aw crap, he forgot about Bakugo. Whoops, Kaken, open the door already. I swear that All Might and I didn't come back just to have revenge on you. First of all, this is All Might we're talking about. He'd never who Izuku flashed back to All Might kneeing Katsuki into a building during their first semester finals. He'd only hurt you in class and send you to Recovery Girl right after. And I wouldn't punch you in front of Aunt Mitsuki without good reason. Emphasis on without good reason. If anything, Mitsuki would force him to smack Katsuki on the head if he pushed it too far. Stop fucking calling me that, Izuku. Like I'd even be afraid of your zombie ass or some quirkless All Might. Katsuki yelled, though he still didn't dare exit his room. And Izuku could hear a distinct stutter to his voice that he only caught thanks to knowing the guy for years. Actually, I got back my quirk when I died. That was rather rude, by the way, young Bakugo. And this is excellent tea, Mitsuki-san. He reprimanded and complimented the two blondes, the latter of whom was still moderately stunned at having the apparently alive #1 hero sitting on her couch as a guest. And little Izuku was also alive. She'd have to talk Inko's ear off for not telling her sooner. Katsuki, get your ass out here before I kick down the door myself. Or maybe I'll just let this strapping young man do it for me. You've grown quite well, little Izuku. Or not so little anymore, I guess. Did All Might give you his secret muscle growth workout or something? Mitsuki yelled and teased Izuku. The last time she saw him, he was a string bean of a boy. Now, he wasn't the Goliath of man-meat that All Might was, but he did grow to a respectable 175 centimeters tall. It would seem that death gave him a bit of a growth spurt. Honey, please don't make Izuku any more uncomfortable than he already is. It's only his second day back and he's already had to deal with a lot. Masaru tried to be the voice of reason. Izuku had given them the rundown of what happened since he made his return, just loud enough for Katsuki to hear it as well. That may or may not have been another reason why he wouldn't come out. If the explosive student was being honest, he was terrified of the revived and apparently incredibly powerful Izuku. Why wouldn't he be? He knows damn well what he did and just how badly his old friend would want revenge. It's what I would do, he thought, ready to jump out of another window if necessary. You know what? Screw it. Kazuma-kun, plan B. With the word given, Kazuma did an epic and picked Katsuki's window lock, snuck in even while the explosive boy was staring right at him, cast a quick create water to temporarily bypass Katsuki's nitro, and finally cast bind to make sure he stayed there before opening the door for Izuku. Alright, now that we can see each other face to face, if you don't stop struggling, I will slap the panic out of you. Either that or Aunt Mitsuki will beat me to it. She was already clapping and whistling like an American football fan, so he wouldn't doubt it. The Bakugo household had issues. What the hell? Who the fuck is this guy? How does he have multiple quirks? And fuck off, Deku, as if I'm scared of some empty 3 slap. A hard slap on the face and an application of intimidating aura shut the blonde up quickly. Izuku looked him dead in the eye. Get a hold of yourself, Kaken. Are you really the cocky, overly aggressive fighter I knew? When did the future #1 hero get so pathetic? Izuku was legitimately pissed off at this point. The Katsuki he knew wasn't this much of a coward. He would have faced his mistakes with his usual aggressiveness instead of hiding and running like a child. Tisk, don't fuck with me, Izuku. I've always run from you. The reason why just changed over the years." His voice sounded resigned, almost dead. In his mind, whatever came next was a long time coming, sprinting to his future as a hero, never realizing that he was acting like anything but a hero until it was too late. Running from the newly powered Izuku that managed to beat him at the start of UA. Running from the League of Villains which forced All Might into an early retirement. Running from what he had done during the super move training. Whatever came next was punishment for his hubris and cowardice. He closed his eyes as something solid hit his forehead. Looking down, he noticed a dog treat. He looked up again to see the second person in green holding his arm out with a shit-eating grin on his face. "Did you just throw a fucking dog treat at me?" He was a nanometer away from saying fuck it and blowing the new guy up. PFFT, Pomeranian, total angry Pomeranian. He's even got the poofy blonde hair and everything. Kazuma was having far too much fun with this. He'd wanted to do something like this ever since his Aniki had told him about his old bully. Izuku might have been willing to take the high road, but his brother in green was not. I keep telling him that he'd look better with shorter hair, but he never listens. And ever since he went on that internship with Best Jeanist, he's refused to let anyone touch his hair. Add that to how he's been acting ever since the incident, and his hair became like that. Masaru commented from the side, somewhat vindicated that someone else agreed that his son's hair could do with a change. Kaken's hair aside, "Please stop messing with him, Kazuma-kun. It isn't making speaking with him any easier." Izuku felt that this was another reference that he was missing out on. He really needed to get into those abridged series Kazuma kept referencing, or this would start to get out of hand. "There, you got what you were looking for, Kaken. Consider what Kazuma-kun did as my revenge. Now can we talk to each other like normal people?" Never. This was going to take a while. Konosuba. It took a grand total of 2 hours before the youngest Bakugo finally calmed down enough to hold a proper conversation. One that the two wielders of OFA were quick to take advantage of by making it crystal clear that they didn't hold what happened to them against Katsuki. If anything, Toshinori was grateful for basically getting a second chance at health through death. Though if they were being honest, half of the trouble that went with trying to talk to Katsuki came from Izuku's own party, who showed up at the door shortly after Kazuma did his thing. Aqua was being her usual self, which quickly got on Katsuki's already raw nerves. Megumin was taunting him to see just what kind of explosions the blonde could let out, completely forgetting or just not caring that they were indoors. Thankfully, Yun and Izuku were there to keep her from completely falling back on her old habits, but there were some close calls. Darkness, though, she nearly added on to Megumin's taunts herself for the sole reason of wanting to feel what those explosions were like, though she was content with Katsuki's verbal abuse for the time being. As for the two elder Bakugos, they were having a bit more trouble than they'd expected accommodating so many eccentric guests, but they made do and couldn't deny that they found the party's antics amusing if slightly worrying. Izuku's sanity may be at risk. Then again, this was the kid who associated with other hero students and All Might, so that ship probably sailed a while ago. You weren't exaggerating when you spoke about your childhood acquaintance, Izuku-kun. I'm conflicted. On one hand, Katsuki was one half of her ideal man. Violent, loud, abrasive, abusive, and powerful enough to do some real damage. On the other hand, he hurt Izuku in the past and was acting really pathetic for the last few hours. Hence the conflict within Darkness tainted mine. Tusk, if anything, he probably downplayed half the shit I did. Who the hell are you extras anyway? I get that you're from wherever the hell All Might and Deku went to, but why is he hanging out with you jokers? Not that it was strange. To Katsuki, Izuku hanging out with weaker and weird people was par for the course, though they had an annoying habit of getting stronger when Katsuki wasn't looking. Damn round face and her admittedly cool special move. We're his adventuring party jackass, and who are you calling weak? The last time I checked, it was you who got tied up and treated like a little bitch by the weakest guy in the party. If we're weak, then I guess you're just pathetic. Kazuma had no problem admitting that he was the weakest compared to his party members. He also knew that if push came to shove, he could probably 1v1 any of them outside of Izuku if he had the prep time. Or Eris, on account of the whole competent goddess thing. Speaking of Eris, she had decided to stay back at the Midoriya residence to help Mamadoriya out and to take care of Eri. They all agreed that it was for the best if she was kept away from Katsuki as much as possible. That being said, he wasn't about to take an insult from someone that he considered a pathetic bully laying down. The fact that Katsuki vaguely reminded him of Mitsurugi had nothing to do with it, though. Nothing at all. Konosuba. Problem child. When I asked you to fight your classmates, I didn't expect you to use the legendary one-at-a-time strategy. Truly, I am in the presence of a tactical genius. But in all seriousness, you've gotten quite strong, haven't you? Not to mention your new comrades. I still haven't been introduced to them, by the way. His attempt to punt his work off on his former student had seemingly backfired. Now he was stuck trying to quantify just how badly his class was beaten and exactly what, if anything, they could have done differently to avoid their vaguely shonen fate. In our defense, you never asked, nor did you give us any more instruction for the exercise beyond fight your former classmates. Anyways, you heard him. Introduce yourselves. Izuku snarked back a bit before letting his party make their introductions. Having them do it would highlight their personalities better than he ever could. Yo, I'm Sadu Kazuma. I'm just a guy from Nag. Kazuma started his introduction only to be immediately interrupted by a certain explosion. Loli, Waga na wa Megumin, the greatest mage of the Crimson Demons and the new goddess of destruction of this woe, who herself was interrupted by the second Crimson Demon in the party. Don't interrupt people when they're speaking, Megumin-chan. That was very rude. Oh, my name is Yun Yun, by the way. I'm also a mage of the Crimson Demon clan, and I'm probably the second best. Yet another interruption, this time by an irate goddess. What was that about being a goddess of destruction, you wanna be? As the goddess of water, I can't let that slide easily. Just because Walbok-chan lost a lot of her authority and the slot is open doesn't mean you can just in once again from the second, more level-headed goddess. Actually, she's quite close to owning up to that boast. Now that Walbok-chan's demotion means that the next most destructive force in her world will get the opportunity to take the title for themselves. Normally this would go to Izuku-kun or Toshinori-kun, but they aren't natives. My name is Eris, by the way. I am the goddess of fortune. Nobody dared interrupt Eris on pain of getting their shit stolen, so the introduction went smoothly for her. I go by the name Darkness. It is a pleasure to meet the man that so callously threw old friends who had not seen each other for so long against each other. And that glare, those demonic red eyes only sell the image further. Why aren't I being interrupted? She sounded disappointed and even pouted at the fact that nobody stopped her mid-masochistic rant. That's what you would want us to do. We're not stupid enough to keep rewarding you for pulling that crap, Lalatina. Kazuma shut her down, the resulting blush and squirming from the use of her real name being all the incentive Kazuma needed to keep her in check. I don't get paid enough to deal with this shit. Whatever, now that you're back, I suppose that simply rejoining the hero course isn't much of an option. He frankly didn't need it. Power-wise, he already surpassed most pros, even before he died. He had the right mindset to be a hero from the very beginning, and he no longer needed to worry about the legalities of everything being a foreign dignitary. Really, all he needed now was experience, something which he apparently had in spades from his adventures in the afterlife. Still, there was some unfinished business that they needed to discuss when it came to Izuku's old school life. Since you're here, I should at least give you this offer. It would seem that you returned at a rather opportune time. It's almost time for the school's festival. You let the implication hang in the air. You want me to help class out, maybe get my party to join in. Sure, it sounds like fun. This was supposed to be a mini vacation for me anyway. Plus, it would be a nice experience for Uri-chan. The little girl in question had been tagging along with them for a while now. Though with how quiet she had been, nobody would have been surprised if she went unnoticed unless pointed out. What's a festival? She asked, never before hearing about something like it. She wasn't aware of much of anything for as long as she could remember. A festival is a gathering of a lot of people who try to have fun by doing stuff together. What those are depend on the type of festival, but the one at UA usually has a bunch of different exhibits, singing competitions, short films made by the students, obstacle courses. And there's usually a beauty pageant. Izuku explained softly, knowing that Uri didn't understand it completely but at least got the gist of it, so it's a good thing. Okay, if Izu, Kazu, and Nissan are going, then I want to too. The heartwarming response melted even Aizawa's near-permanent neutral expression. Will there be apples and sweets? That got a quick laugh out of Izuku. Of course, little one. There will be plenty. There might even be caramel apples at the festival. It was a pretty popular festival food after all. You can make apples into candy. And over there we have the cafeteria. Lunch Rush is an amazing hero who uses his quirk to feed the hungry at incredibly fast rates. If you're ever hungry, just ask him and he'll make you something yummy. Izuku continued his tour of the UA campus, which Uri would soon call her second home for the near future. A young unicorn paid attention and drooled a bit at the mention of delicious free food. The rest of you still have to pay. Izuku glared slightly at the latter since he knew that some of them KazuxAqua Megumin would take advantage of any mention of free food. My homeland or not, we're still guests here. Did you already forget that we're rich? It's not like we need handouts anymore. Right, you too. Kazuma corrected his leader while giving the two girls a glare of his own. Megumin he could understand since she spent pretty much all her life in abject poverty. But Aqua was just a lazy bum sometimes. And this was coming from the former Hikanite. You're thinking something unforgivable again, aren't you, Hikanite? I'll make you regret that later. You're lucky that Mini Eris is here right now, or I'd whatever the blue thing was about to say was abruptly interrupted by a shout from the distance. It would seem that a few of the UA students finally noticed who was walking around the campus. Holy shit, is that Midoriya? He really did come back to life. What about All Might? If Midoriya's here, then where's he? What about all of those beautiful girls? They look like they came straight out of a fantasy novel. Maybe we should let Eri-chan see the class of dorms next. Can you guys take her there while I deal with these students? I don't think she is quite ready to deal with this many excited people at once. Maybe she would later. But right now Eri was still fresh from her experiences with Chisaki. She still needed time. You got it, Aniki. Try not to crush their worldview too much this time. Kazuma asked for the impossible while happily following Izuku's orders. He did not want to be around to see the mob riot that was guaranteed to form from any questions Izuku might answer. Easier said than done. Half of their questions are probably going to be about, well, the afterlife, so not changing their worldviews is a bust. Izuku muttered and turned to face his fate. He was surprised that the crowd actually slowed down before reaching him and just kinda stood and stared at Izuku for a moment before someone was brave enough to walk up and ask a question. Midoriya-san, what happened? Now, wasn't that the question of the century? It carried quite a bit of weight despite, or perhaps because of how vague it was. They told us a little bit over the news, but we could tell that it wasn't everything. Please, a lot of us are just worried, you know. You're Iwase-san, right? Sorry if I got your name wrong. Our classes barely interacted before I died and it's been 2 years for me. The boy seemed surprised that Izuku remembered his name but shook it off quickly to pay attention. Well, all the stuff they said so far is probably true. I died during the villain attack at the training camp and was sent to another world. What I'd like to know is who or what sent you there, why did they send you, and more importantly, how have you come back? For something to have enough power to bring back the dead. A girl this time. Shizaki, if Izuku's memory was right, spoke up. They'd have to be a god. Is that what you're thinking? Izuku got a cautious nod as a reply, though he could tell that there was something deeper there. Well, to answer your questions in order, I was sent to another world by the goddess of fortune Eris, who chose me because I died as a hero and she had jurisdiction over this world's version of Japan. Izuku casually revealed the existence of gods, multiverse theory, and actual isekai nonsense in a single sentence. The world I was sent to was at war against a demon king and the gods of that world were looking for champions to take him down for centuries. As it turns out, centuries worth of misunderstandings piled up, and through several unusual circumstances I managed to end the war early, within 2 years of Belzerg time, and chose to come back to this world, along with a few other gifts, as my reward for bringing peace to Belzerg. Only to reveal that he was a world-class hero that saved an entire country with his next breath, not allowing the students to process much of anything. As for the whole, reviving the dead thing, it's honestly not that rare of an ability. You need quite a bit of power and skill to pull it off, sure, but even a magical journeyman like myself can pull it off with enough creativity. Okay, Izuku calling himself a journeyman was a bit of a stretch, but his point still stood. There were the classic resurrections powered by gods, of course, but magic also allowed for advanced necromancy that created undead who were almost indistinguishable from living beings. Druids were capable of reincarnating the dead into new bodies, and even alchemists like himself could reconstruct a body back to perfect health. The only issue came later, since the soul might have moved on by the time you got the body back together. Reviving the dead was a miraculous ability, yes, but not as much of an impossible feat as most people thought it was. Even that chump Chisaki could do it. If you want to meet Eris-chan, she was the silver-haired woman that I was walking with before you guys arrived. The blue-haired one is Aqua-chan, the goddess of water. And eventually, we'll have Walbach-chan visit. She's the goddess of sloth and formerly of violence. You're awfully close to them considering they're actual goddesses. Is there a story there? Another 1B student asked in a teasing tone. She was the one who could split her body into multiple floating pieces. Setsu something. Izuku's mind supplied but couldn't quite get the name right. That's a bit more private, but yes, we are all quite close with one another. And before anyone asks, All Might isn't here right now. He still has to take care of a lot of paperwork involving his hero duties, old sponsors, and businesses that he was associated with before he died. And he came to Belzerg for the same reason I did, if you were wondering. That they could have guessed, in their minds, if a relative nobody like Izuku was selected, then of course All Might would be chosen. Poor sweet naive summer children. They'll figure out the real reasons soon enough. Now, if you don't mind, I still have a lot of stuff to do. I and my friends from the other world are going to help out 1A with their culture festival ideas, so you guys can look forward to that. Excitement took over the group of students. The idea of otherworldly heroes working on stuff for the festival. It would make this festival something to remember. Well, that went surprisingly well. It's almost like this is a school for heroes and the best students in the country. All that time in Belzerg surrounded by chaotic good, neutral adventurers probably did something to Izuku's expectation. I'll just have to readjust my standards for normal while I'm here. Izuku was nothing if not adaptable. I wonder how Koda-kun and the Pussycats are doing. I should probably contact them soon. Maybe the school can help me with that. Alright, Melissa-chan too. All Might said she had a rough time after my death. I should call her when I get back home. Izuku had a lot of calls to make and a lot of catching up to do with those people and more. You know what? Forget a phone call. The Emerald hero smirked and pulled out his portal gun. Why call when he could just visit at any time? Now he just needed the right coordinates and he and the party could go whenever they wanted. Plus, his party had wanted to meet the woman who created the full gauntlet that inspired his current armor ever since Izuku told them about her. Showing Yuri around Island would also be a great experience for her. Maybe I can even get her access to the next Expo. I'm sure that if All Might got a pass for 2 last time I could pull off the same. A smile stayed on his face on his way to the new dorms. Apparently, they were built as a response after the summer camp and Camino incidents. Thinking about how it would be for his entire class to live in one place like that, this was going to be a treat. He opened the door to 1A's dormitory and was immediately met with a chaotic cacophony of noise. From Aqua's usual crying, Kazuma's incredulous yelling, Darkness' usual moans of barely hidden masochism, and finally his old classmates' yells of horror after having to deal with the prior people for any length of time without Izuku around to mediate. At least Yuri-chan looks like she's having a blast. She was jumping to and fro, eyes wide, lips twitching, and practically vibrating in place in excitement. The sheer amount of acceptance, happiness, warmth, and overall positive energy around her was doing wonders for the child's mental state. This place is so loud and fun, I think. Everyone bounces off each other but with words instead of knocking each other around. Most of the time. Is it always like this here? Her excitement was infectious, or perhaps she was infected with it by the insanity around her. Either way, it seemed to do some good for the little one and it brought a smile to Izuku's face. Basically, whenever you get people with such different personalities but with similar ideals, you tend to get fun chaos like this. We're all pretty much friends here, so there's a lot of that going on. Or at least that's how I remember it from my time here. I hope that they've been taking care of you properly while I was gone. He glared a bit at the more questionable members of both class and his own party. I kept the blue thing away from her for the most part. Aqua-chan helped teach her how to draw, but I stepped in when she tried to make her sign in Axis cult form. I also kept the purple ball kid away from her, so don't worry. Kazuma reassured Izuku. His fellow adventurer in green has a protective streak when it came to little sister types. For the last time Kazuma-kun, it was just a junior membership form. All of the benefits of joining with none of the downsides until the 20-year grace period is done. What more could you want? Izuku held back a sigh at the attempt to indoctrinate Eri into a cult. Though in all honesty, it wasn't such a bad idea. Let me read that contract. Izuku would at least give it a look to see if it was legitimate. This reads like one of those scam emails used by those 21st century insurance vendors. But the terms seem rather reasonable actually. It just said that Eri would make small, daily offers of foodstuff and wine to Aqua and attempt to follow the core tenets of the Axis cult, embrace freedom, treat others equally, share art and beauty freely, and the aforementioned offerings. This actually isn't that bad. Still, we should let Eri-chan grow up first and let her make the decision herself when she's mature enough to understand the consequences. Not that there were many, admittedly. The benefits of joining heavily outweighed them. See, at least our leader is a smart and reasonable person, unlike a certain Hickanite that refused to even read the damn thing. Aqua shouted in indignation mixed with happiness that someone finally gave her religion a shot. The smile grew even wider when Izuku signed the paper himself, since he saw no real downside to it. Wait, she's actually a goddess. I mean, she totally looks like one, but that personality, Kaminari said, only to be immediately pestered by the goddess he scorned, who pelted him with globs of water. Hey, stop. Why do those hurt so much? They're just a bunch of water balls. They should vaporize on contact. On crap. Stupid he may be, but even Kaminari knew that pure water was an insulator. His electricity wasn't going to help him out with this one. Aqua's saccharine smile was the last thing he saw before he made the very intelligent decision of running away at top speed. Luckily for him, the goddess of water did not follow. Not worth running. Yo, Rikido-kun, was it? You guys got any good chips here? She asked, using Sugarman's first name to avoid confusion with Kazuma. Making homemade chips and such back in Belzerg was nice and all, but there was something about those cheap knockoff chips sold in a local convenience store that couldn't be replicated. It was probably the MSG. Looks like Aqua-chan's already made herself at home. If she ever gets too out of hand, just find either Kazuma-kun or me and we'll keep her from going too far. This is a nice place, by the way. It reminds me of our own place, just taller and not as wide. The medieval-style mansion they lived in was wider, but only had 2 floors due to the technological limitations of the setting. Before Izuku came along, that is, Axel would be getting their first 10-plus story buildings in the coming months. Right, you're super rich now. I keep forgetting that. You said you owned a city, right? I wasn't imagining that was I. Ochako still had swirls in her eyes every time the subject came up, and a crimson face whenever she remembered Eris' words and suggestive tone when they first met. The young woman's mind went wild with ideas every time she thought about it. I'm the co-ruler of the city along with Darkness. We both have titles of nobility along with it, so technically we do own the land. Most of the buildings and businesses are privately owned by the people of the city though. This had changed somewhat since Izuku made an effort to buy off and overhaul a few industries. The farms, for example, were bought from their former owners for fair prices and changed to use the land more efficiently. Some private farms still existed, but those who were too old or couldn't be bothered to adjust their farming practices were given the option to retire in relative wealth instead. Not many poor subsistence farmers would refuse such an opportunity. Don't forget the partial owner of the Crimson Demon Village thanks to that school you built and Yunyan-chan's inheritance. And you can consider Alkenresha an ally. So all in all, Izuku and his party had 3 cities at their back more or less. What the Crimson Demon Village lacked in population they made up for in magic. Speaking of that world, have you all contacted your parents about visiting? If they agree, then they can just come here and I'll transport you all there. I'll make sure that Iris-chan gives you all a proper welcome to Belzerk. We'll prepare a festival celebrating the first official meeting between people of both sides. The fact that their old classmate could just do that on a whim still caught them by surprise, but they answered him anyway. Yeah man, most of us got the go-ahead already. My folks sounded really excited about the idea, and they wanted to take a break from Japan for a while considering what happened. Zero answered first. It would seem that a good majority of everyone's families wanted some kind of escape away from the recent chaos. To them, going on a, quite literal magical adventure to a new world with their children sounded wonderful, especially when they had the guarantee of protection from All Might himself, and a young hero who was apparently his protege and was just as if not stronger than the symbol of peace himself. Yeah, word spread fast when Izuku told Klasa his story and made it clear that he didn't mind if the information got out at that point. My father said he'd be coming too, though I warn you that he'll probably try to cozy up to the politicians and magicians of your world. Endeavor had gotten a bit better after All Might's death mellowed him out, but he was still the type that would try to increase his own influence and personal power when he could. I guessed as much. It's really not much of an issue. If anything, King Belzerg will probably find his attempts funny. By the way, I was asked to help you guys out with the cultural festival and already have a few ideas. How do you all feel about trying out some of the food and magical trinkets from our world? The class collectively jumped at the opportunity, though some were a little bummed out that they would have to choose between that and the concert they had already decided on. Who says you can't do both? The concert can be the main event while the food and trinkets can be a gift shop of sorts to remember the occasion. Aqua-chan, Yaoyorozu-san. And I can even make clothing appropriate for the event. The idea had even more support and an enthusiastic agreement from Momo, who was happy for the help. Great. We can head back to our world real quick and round up some supplies. How do you guys feel about flying cabbage and fried giant toad? It's about that time of year again. Flying what now? Right. He still hadn't gotten to that story yet. And that's about all of the monsters and magical creatures that are commonly seen around Axel. If you want a more in-depth explanation of how they work and such, you can always visit the library. Construction should be done by now. Izuku finished giving his classmates a brief crash course of Axel's local flora and fauna. And yes, they built a library. It just seemed like an obvious and important public work that they could spend all their ill-gotten gains on. The information provided by it would no doubt lower adventurer mortality rates and improve people's education levels in general. So, what I'm hearing is bring weapons and don't hold back. Seriously, you guys have 10-meter-tall frogs that eat goats in one bite. Sure, that wasn't much of an issue to most hero students, but they were bringing their parents too. Aside from Endeavor, the rest probably wouldn't be thrilled by the idea of deadly fauna. Don't worry, those frogs and most of the other fauna never get close to human settlements. And ever since we took over, we made sure to write quests for regular patrols around nearby farms, which protects the outer reaches too. The giant frogs were pretty easy to deal with, even for a level 1 adventure, so long as they were properly equipped, of course. If you say so, man. They decided to trust the locals when it came to safety. Besides, they'd have All Might with them anyway. It should be fine. All right, we'll go back to our world to collect some supplies then. Does anyone want to come with us? Immediately the room erupted into yelling, each student trying to have their shot to visit another world early. Well, most of them anyway. A few of the quieter ones were ready to wait a bit more. Okay. We can take 5, 1 for each of us to keep an eye on. Not 7, since Aqua herself needed someone to watch over her too. Not that I don't trust you guys, of course. It's just that Axel, and especially the capital city, can be a bit difficult to navigate, and an escort would be appropriate. Plus, he didn't want any of them to accidentally get in trouble while navigating the new world. Janken it is, Klasa decided, beginning a long and bloody battle between hero students for the right to heck yeah. Victory for the Baka squad. And Uraraka-san, good job girl. Mina celebrated the victories of herself, Kirishima, Kaminari, Zero, and Uraraka. Well, as long as everyone is okay with it. Yuri-chan is coming along too. Just promise me that you'll stick close to us, all right? Izuku asked in a serious tone. not wanting Eri to get lost in a strange new place, even if most of the people there would be able to help her out. I will Izu, and I'll stay away from the pretty ladies with wings and the blonde person with red eyes. Ah, Kazuma taught her well. And if I see the one in blue armor, I should throw tomatoes at him. What's a tomato? Kazuma was going to get a stern talking to later, from Izuku anyway. He would get an ass beating from Aqua after she finds out. The next day, Axel, guild building, Luna's office. Izuku-kun, welcome back. Are these those hero friends that you talked about? Luna's welcome glomp was the first thing Izuku and his extended party saw after stepping through his portal. Thankfully, the surprise factor didn't eliminate Izuku's ridiculous strength, so he wasn't knocked down from it. It's nice to be back, and yes, these are some of my old classmates. Please introduce yourselves. This is Luna-chan. Holy crap, look at the size of them. And no bra too. An unexpected voice said from behind Aqua. What? Minta-kun, why are you on Aqua-chan's back? Also how? And since when? How did she not notice him? Oh right, maxed out stats, and Minta wasn't exactly a massive addition. Never mind that. Please just get off and don't cause trouble. Izuku realized that someone would need to pull double duty to watch over the grape stowaway. It couldn't be Megumin. She might blow him up, and Union didn't have the backbone to deal with Minta's usual nonsense. Darkness would more likely than not be an enabler. Kazuma already had his hands full with Aqua. Izuku already had to watch over 2 people with Eri, which left Eris. Please just don't maim him permanently, Izuku added, remembering that most damage could just be fixed by Aqua. Ah, and keep him away from the succubus district. The what? The rest of Minta's class chose to ignore him and let Eris drag the demonically crying boy out of the building. The blonde guild representative awkwardly coughed into her hand and chose to ignore what had just happened in favor of properly meeting Izuku's old friends. Speaking of which, the cough caught their attention and acted as a cue to start their introductions. I'm Mina Ashido. We're all the same age as Midoriya-kun, and my quirk is acid. No prizes for guessing what it lets me do. The ever-energetic Mina started things out, letting loose a bit of acid to demonstrate her quirk, forgetting that she was in a room with a wooden floor. Please don't do that again. I try my best to keep my office clean and well-maintained. The wind in Mina's sails died faster than Dust's chances with women after opening his mouth, replaced with sheepish and slightly guilty laughter. Coughing a bit to clear the air, Zero continued the introductions. Sorry about that. Ashido-san can get a bit excited at times. I'm Hanta Zero, and my quirk is tape. This time he just showed off his elbows and shot off some tape before reeling it back to demonstrate his quirk. Tape, like that adhesive product that Kazuma-kun invented a few months back. An awkward silence and a bit of glaring descended, the latter of which was directed at the second most popular young man in green. Oi, different world, different rules. As far as Belzerg is concerned, I did invent it, and I did what any responsible businessman would do in my situation. Milk the hell out of the natural monopoly and get rich before anyone else could replicate his invention. Eventually, the code was cracked and other distributors began to sell the same product. But Kazuma still had his foot at the door much earlier, so he didn't sweat it. The glares turned into sheepish looks. Most of them couldn't fault Kazuma for what he did. They would have done it too if they were thrust into a new world with a seeming monopoly on advanced technology. Izuku also couldn't really say anything. After all, it was partially the information provided by his tablet that fed Kazuma's little money-making operation. Besides, nobody was getting hurt from this. The people of Belzerg were able to advance at a previously impossible rate, and their party could rake in the gold from some honest, albeit lopsided business. Oh well, they funded hundreds of public works with that money anyway. It was no weight on their conscience. Before we get off track again, I'm Denki Kaminari and my quirk is electrification. I shock things basically, but if I use too much energy it messes with my head, the blonde said, adding in his quirk's drawback just in case it ever came up. Unfortunate misunderstandings could happen from a lack of information. I'm Ijiru Kirishima, and I harden. That's about it, I guess. Yeah, his quirk was a lot less complex than the others, at least on the surface. It is a simple power, but simple doesn't mean bad. There's a benefit to simplicity in that it's easy to plan with. Luna tried to reassure the red-haired warrior. She just assumed that would be his class, though from what Izuku said, classes weren't a thing in his world. It's nice to meet you, Luna-san. I'm Ochako Uraraka, and my quirk lets me negate gravity. The more I do it, the more nauseous I get, though. And my current weight limit is about 3 tons. Luna's eyes widened. That went from a 7 to a 20 real quick. That's a lot. Oh right, you need to touch something with those pads for it to work. That's much more balanced, Luna muttered at the end. If the young woman could just negate gravity on any object near her, it would have been one of the stronger abilities that the guild leader had heard of. Right up there with advanced magic. Got it right in one. How did you know? Sure, her quirk had a visual part that gave people a hint, but that was a pretty big leap in logic. Oh, Izuku-kun told me a lot about his old classmates, especially about a certain girl that could negate gravity with a touch. I just connected the dots from there. Luna explained, giving the brunette a wink. She could tell from how enthusiastic Izuku was when talking about the girl that there were feelings there. She just hoped that Izuku's time in Belzerg helped them get over the initial awkwardness. Come on, let me show you around the guild, the humble beginnings of many adventurers. As Luna said this, she opened the door to her office, and the general chatter and noise of the Adventurers Guild could be heard, including the usual sounds of glass breaking and people getting punched in the face, of course. This place certainly looks lively. Is that guy going to be okay? One of the adventurers got a broken glass bottle to the stomach and was currently bleeding all over the floor. Thankfully, a priest was never too far away, and the relatively minor injury was healed in seconds. Never mind. Wow, that's so cool. Knowing that any immediate danger to a person's life was taken care of, Mina could focus on the coolness factor of casual magic use. As you could probably tell, the adventurers here are a rambunctious bunch. Except for when there's actual work to be done, of course. Lazy bums. She was a little salty, sue her. Though Luna may have also been a bit spoiled by how successful Izuku's party had been with completing quests. About that, can we register as new adventurers? From what we were told so far, it sounds like a really neat power boost without any downsides. The starting process itself didn't boost stats or anything, but the leveling system. Izuku's insane growth and strength from how he was just a few months proved just how useful it was. Of course, and since you're Izuku's friends, will waive the fee, of course. The kingdom could always use more heroes, even if they don't work here permanently. Besides, the fee wasn't that much anyway. Dibs. The hero students all but fell over each other trying to rush towards the registration crystal, though they slowed down considerably when Izuku warned them that the orb was both fragile and very expensive. For most people anyway. Being the least confrontational of the hero students, Ochako calmly walked towards the crystal and gently placed her hand on it, gasping a bit at the bright light that came with it. Ooh, that feels kinda tingly. With that said, a card was spat out, and as usual, Luna had the honor of reading it out to an adventurers guild who finally realized that Izuku was back and paid attention to the new arrivals accordingly. Wow, impressive. All of your stats are significantly above average, and your dexterity is something special. The exact numbers were as follow. Strength 22, Vitality 30, Intelligence 35, Wisdom 30, Dexterity 40, Luck 15. With stats like these, most of the standard classes are available to you. However, I recommend one that uses dexterity as their main stat, and considering your power, the Shaolin Monk class would be a great choice, Luna suggested. A suggestion that Ochako took easily. She already had experience with martial arts and knew just how useful the class could be for her skill set. Me next. Mina made use of her classmate's curiosity and placed her hand onto the crystal while they looked at Ochako's card. Huh, you weren't kidding. It feels a little like how my skin gets when I make acid that's a little too strong. Another card was spit out from the machine, and this time Mina took it for herself to read aloud. Strength 18, Vitality 57, Intelligence 15, Wisdom 10, Dexterity 35, Luck 20. Huh, why'd my vitality stats so high? Oh right, acid. Makes sense. It took Mina a moment to remember that she had a unique advantage when it came to defending against certain methods of attack. Yo, Kaminari-san, you're next. I want to test something. Confused but accepting as usual, Kaminari did as he was asked. PFFT, I knew it. Mina broke out into laughter upon skimming over the electric boy's stats. Strength 20, Vitality 42, Intelligence 11, Wisdom 8, Dexterity 15, Luck 20. Hey, words hurt, you know. Besides, we're not that far apart when it comes to intelligence. Why is my wisdom so low though? Minda's right-hand man questioned his life choices. Sadly, his intelligence meant that it would take him a while to figure it out. You both seem to have higher than average vitality. For Mina-san, I'd recommend the ninja class with a specialization on poisoning to capitalize on those high stats. As for Kaminari-san, the basic warrior class is probably your best bet. Nice and well-rounded. The two agreed with her assessment. Mina because she thought the idea of a neon pink ninja that could spew acid was hilarious, and Kaminari because he just thought it would look cool. My turn. Zero rushed up to the crystal, though he didn't really need to. Kirishima had already stepped aside, not minding being last. Yeah, that's about what I expected. He didn't bother reading his stats aloud and just showed it off to the others. Strength 30, Vitality 15, Intelligence 15, Wisdom 13, Dexterity 50, Luck 15. Swinging around on these things needs some upper body strength. The rest is pretty self-explanatory. Bootleg Spider-Man explained before stepping aside to let Kirishima have his chance. One card was spat out and read. Once again, the results were rather easy to guess. Strength 40, Vitality 150, Intelligence 20, Wisdom 15, Dexterity 10, Luck 15. Definitely a candidate for a Vanguard class. I highly recommend the Crusader class, though the Swordmaster class is also a viable option. Luna recommended, with Darkness piping up by explaining the benefits and drawbacks to the Crusader class, with Kazuma clearing up the misconceptions that Darkness created by assuring Kirishima that he would still have methods of attack. Darkness was an exception, not the rule. We got another advanced class here, and he's part of Midoriya-sama's posse too. I think this calls for a party. Yo Kazuma, are you gonna pay for the drinks tonight? Dust, sensing an opportunity to get some free drinks, spoke up and revved everyone up for a party. Fuck it, why not? Drinks are on me tonight, you savages. The tax collector had to give back to his community every now and then, right? Besides, it's been a while since he had a good drink with everyone else. Drinks, right? You guys said the drinking age here is way lower. Should we? Kaminari let the question hang, not wanting to be the first to suggest it. Maybe another time. You guys have to be back by the end of the day, so getting drunk wouldn't be the best idea. Instead, let us show you some of the local food. I'm sure you'll love it. The Baka Squad plus Achako were only disappointed for a millisecond before cheering up at the mention of unique and delicious food. Giant frog legs, anyone. So delicious. But this is going to be so awkward when we tell Tsu-chan about this. Totally worth it though. Achako just about moaned at the surprising amount of flavor that the giant frog legs she was served had, not to mention how cheap they were, relatively speaking. That's the frog girl, right? Just tell her that Aniki liked them too. Bet she'd enjoy hearing that he likes eating frog, if you catch my meaning. Kazuma suggested, only to be immediately bonked by Aqua without her even needing to turn her head. Achako and Siro, however, who hadn't been desensitized to Kazuma's brand of humor yet, blushed scarlet. The two hero students had decided to stick around the guild building along with Kazuma, Aqua, and the Crimson Demon Wizard since they all were hungry and wanted to fill their stomachs before setting out to explore Axel properly. Darkness and Kirishima headed out towards the giant frog territory at the redhead's request. Thankfully, Izuku was quick enough to mention the frog's distaste for metal, so the two managed to grab Kirishima a bit of basic iron armor before heading out. It would have been next to useless considering the boy's quirk, but against the frogs it was an invaluable defense. Kaminari chose to take a tour of the town right away with All Might, who volunteered to guide him. Minta and Eris were still nowhere to be seen, though those that listened closely could hear terrified screams echoing from the alleyways of Axel. Finally, there was Izuku. Poor Izuku had to deal with his city's reaction to Eri. Izuku-sama, you're back. And my goddess, that is the most adorable little girl I've ever seen. You and Eris-sama must be so proud. Does that make her a demigod? I must inform the rest of the Eris cult at once. Izuku stopped in his tracks, before he took a breath and just kept walking. He really should have expected this kind of crap at this point. And it continued, every other person in Axel taking a moment to say hello to Izuku and gush over. She was especially popular with the Eris cult for obvious reason. Izuku, what's a demigod? And why does everyone know you? Is it because you're a hero? Eri asked from Izuku's shoulders, shaking the young hero out of his thoughts. A demigod is the child of a god and a human. They think that you are my and Eris-chan's daughter. And being a hero is partially the reason. I'm also the governor of the city and make it a point to help everyone that lives here. Eri almost smiled at Izuku's words. The thought of having her hero and the nice lady that looked like her as a family made the little girl happy beyond words. So long as you are in this city, you will always be safe. And not just because of my party and I knowing my luck. The people of Axel will see you as a holy being to protect and dote on before the day is done. Eri would be a princess in all but name so long as she stayed in the city. Speaking of princesses, Izuku-kun, I teleported here the second we got word that you came back. And who's this? Wait, you said that time moved differently in your world, right? Does that mean you and Eris-chan finally? Izuku clapped his hands over the rambling Iris' shoulders to calm her down before taking the girl into a hug. It's good to see you too, Iris-chan. This is Eri-chan, a girl from my world that we saved from a terrible situation. And yes, the resemblance is striking, but no Eris-chan. And I have not had a child yet. Keyword being yet. Many people that were around to hear Izuku thought at the same time. So warm. It's nice to meet you, Eri-chan. I'm sure we'll get along with each other. I'll make sure to prepare a room in the castle for you. That way you can visit and stay over whenever. Oh, this is your first time in our world, right? Come on, we should show her some of the magic we have for sale. There's no magic in your world, right? The green hero's workload had just doubled, now that he needed to watch over Eri while simultaneously trying to rein in Iris' enthusiasm. Regardless, Izuku smiled through it all. He was more than used to dealing with unique personalities by now. With Kazuma, Aqua, and two very confused UA students. Okay, I get the whole fantasy world thing of having weird and fantastical animals all over the place. But why are there also regular ones like chickens, pigs, goats, and all the other usual domesticated animals? Shouldn't they have gone extinct a long time ago? Siro asked, his eyes twitching after Aqua made a scene involving her new pet dragon. A pet that was really just a chicken. Still, the goddess would not hear it and decided to name it Emperor Zill of all things. The two UA students now knew why Izuku had left them with Kazuma. His classmates could handle themselves and weren't likely to get into trouble, which allowed the green adventurer to keep a better eye on Aqua. Though even with that he couldn't prevent her antics. Only do damage control. Adventurers and farmers work very hard to make sure they stay alive and healthy. And for the last time, you stupid goddess, I don't care if you want a pet. Just take care of it properly and stop calling it a dragon. Keeping regular livestock alive was especially hard when you remembered that even this world's vegetables could kill them in one hit. Now that I think about it, it's weird that even the average farmer in this world isn't completely jacked. You'd think that all that fighting for their survival and livelihood would equal some serious gains. Outside of Kazuma's musings, a situation had developed involving his less troublesome charges, and they were picking a fight with Dust. Or more accurately, it was the other way around. For the last time, I wasn't trying to pickpocket her. I just saw a weird bug on you and wanted to slap it off, was Dust's poor excuse. At least she didn't figure out my real reason. Still, being accused of the wrong crime sucks, he thought, still trying to hold off the surprisingly fast and agile girl after his failed attempt to cop a feel. Though I appreciate the skin-tight outfit, he thought with a giggle, before dodging a string of something he didn't recognize that came out of the other weirdly dressed person's elbow. Weird travelers, probably from the same place Kazuma and Izuku are from. He assumed those that lived in Axel were used to this song and dance by now. Bullshit. We heard about you from Kazuma-san. Even if you weren't trying to steal from her, I highly doubt that you'd do something out of the kindness of your heart. Zero called the blonde out, shooting out a strand of tape which was unfortunately dodged. It would seem that despite his attitude, Dust was somewhat competent as a fighter. Bind, silence, bind. Oi, that's enough from all of you. Damn it, Dust, it hasn't even been a week. Oi, random guard, take him back to the work camp. 2 more days, said random guard, who didn't even bother correcting Kazuma, did as he was told and grabbed the now bound and silent Dust. The local authorities were used to such situations, it would seem. Thank you for taking care of that, Kazuma-kun. I still need to pick up some utility spells for capturing enemies. Yun thanked him. While her spells were far more versatile than Megumin's, they were still rather heavy on the destruction with little subtlety to them. No problem. I stuck with this skill monkey class for a reason. Kazuma acknowledged the little wizard before switching his attention to the 2 students. Next time, just ask the guards to take him in. You guys are strong and all, but the bucketheads we hired are specially trained to handle dust-related incidents. If you want to practice your hero shtick, then go to the red light district at night. There's usually a drunk or 2 out causing trouble that you could handle. Otherwise, there wasn't really much for them to do. Is this what the pros feel like whenever All Might appears in their city? They never took it to the point of raising a complaint. All Might was a godsend to his world, a veritable savior who single-handedly curbed the crimes of his nation. Still, for a profession that relied on solving crimes to pay their bills, having nearly all crime just disappear, it was a bit awkward. Hence the passing of the Minimum Heroic Payment Act. Getting it through the Diet was like pulling teeth, but thankfully the combined threat of heroes striking nationwide and Nezu's promise to stay out of market speculation was just enough to make the politicians bend. History lesson aside, the result was that while heroes would escape bankruptcy, they could not escape the boredom that came from a lack of work. The piece is nice, I guess. This isn't what I expected when I thought of a fantasy town. Deku-kun's done a lot to modernize the place, but it's still a nice change of pace compared to Musutafu. Ochako commented, personally hoping that the night sky would be as good as she imagined. Peaceful is probably the best way to describe this place. Reminds me of the countryside where my grandparents live. It's really clean too. I can't believe how little trash there is around, and the air smells super fresh compared to Japan. The lack of traditional industry certainly helped with that. Magic is extremely convenient. Keep in mind that the people here grew up with it and took it for granted, only focusing on spells useful for combat while leaving the weaker spells to civilians or as party tricks. That's actually partially how I got my fame, by using so-called weaker skills and spells creatively to fight people who are much stronger than me. Kazuma saw that he was losing them when he started bragging, so he sighed and got to his point. What I'm trying to say is that magic has incredible applications for everyday convenience. Self-cleaning roads powered by runes, public lighting that never needs upkeep, unlimited clean water, instant tilling of the soil. I can go on for hours, and that's just the basic stuff that anyone can learn from a book. Now anyway, ever since he and Izuku translated the Old Norse runes into Belzerg's common language, what you see here in Belzerg is what happens when you take modern-day ideas of automation and combine them with a power source that can tell physics to take a hike. Needless to say, it was a potent combination. And all of this happened in just a couple of years. Imagine what this place will look like in a decade. And that was without even taking in the recent peace agreements. Two countries that have experienced nothing but war for centuries suddenly became tentative allies while also gaining access to otherworldly knowledge. Yeah, things would only get crazier from here. And with the recent diplomatic relations with Japan, Belzerg will have an additional source of economic aid. Maybe we'll even open up immigration programs. After all, with all the new technology being created or adapted in Belzerg, the country would need trained engineers and such to keep everything running. And while local academies or schools would eventually be an option, the quirked world had far more options for those willing to make the trip. You guys look like you have your hands full. I guess there's a downside to all that money and power. Still better than being broke though. Achako empathized but muttered that the trouble was probably worth the perks. Though, if what the goddess heiress implied was true, she might have to experience it herself in the future. The thought alone made her blush crimson. Beats the hell out of sleeping in a stable. I'll take the glares I get collecting taxes and all the paperwork over that any day. Though I'd love to just spend my time goofing off and tending to my businesses instead. Kazuma missed the days when he didn't have so many responsibilities. His income was a bit smaller, but taking care of Wiz's small shop with the help of Vanir was infinitely more relaxing. I guess power doesn't change your base personality all that much. The students thought similarly. It would seem that Kazuma's easygoing nature hadn't changed even if circumstances forced him to work more than he otherwise would have liked. Speaking of taking on more work than necessary, Yuri-chan, come on. You gotta keep up if you want to be my new partner. The young royal called out to the child trying to chase after her. The two kids enjoyed themselves as they played in one of Axel's parks, safe under the watchful eye of their guardian. Said guardian let out a mirthful sigh. This was tiring, but he could admit that it was fun watching the two play. Those two have way more energy than I did at their age. Those were the bad old days, to be honest. His childhood was not the best. Thankfully for him, and Eri especially, the rough patches were over and left in the past. The scene in front of him was a reminder of why he fought, of why he chose to be a hero so long ago. To smile in the face of evil and bring smiles to the faces of others. Well, we have all worked hard for this. Time to enjoy it to the fullest. It wouldn't last forever, peace never did. But just because something was temporary didn't mean it wasn't worth fighting for. And Izuku would keep fighting until the end. I hope you all enjoyed the trip. Did you pack all of your bags of holding? And remember, you need to keep the lid closed all the way. Otherwise the food will lose heat by the time we get back to UA. Izuku called out to his classmate, each of whom was given a magic item to carry and preserve any food they wanted to bring back to Japan for their festival. We got it, Deku-kun. Thanks for letting us use these. I saw around that they were pretty expensive. Wait, is the local currency the same as the yen? It slipped my mind until now that all the prices seemed pretty standard except for all the cool magic stuff. Achako confirmed before wondering about the implications of interdimensional economics out loud. No problem. They might be expensive, but we have plenty of money to spare. And the generations of Japanese reincarnates, along with Eris-chan and Aqua-chan having jurisdiction with the Japanese afterlife, made the Eris to yen economy inevitable. Izuku explained, having asked the very same questions to Eris shortly after arriving. If everyone is ready, then line up and jump into the portal. And don't worry, I'm sure you all and everyone else can visit this world shortly. The greenette gestured to the freshly created gateway before stepping in. It was calibrated to bring them directly to their dormitories. Oh great, everyone is already here. We timed it correctly. Thanks again for the coordinates, Yaorazu-san. These will be very helpful. Izuku commented on seeing the rest of his old class lounging around in the Heights Alliance living room, thanking the Ravenet that saved him time on a good bit of tedious work. It was no issue. Ever since you explained how those portal guns worked, I thought these would be useful. It's the least I could do after all the help you've given us. The Ravenet reassured her interdimensional friend. It wasn't difficult work or anything. All it cost her was a few minutes on the phone. Izuku smiled and decided to accept the kindness for what it was. Well, thank you anyway. How have the preparations for the festival been going? We brought plenty of food and trinkets for the event. Feel free to use them however you like, he asked. Toru was more than happy to give him the rundown. We got the stage and all the decorations ready. And since you brought the food, all we got left to do is rehearse our lines and dance routines. The invisible girl emphasized in her usual way, dancing what were most likely the movements she would use in the actual festival. Oh, you were part of the class. Want to join us? I don't know. I'm pretty swamped as it is, taking care of Eri-chan, running things back in Axel, and I still have to attend the peace negotiations. With a tug on his shirt stopped Izuku short. Eri's big red eyes were staring at him with a wanting look. Seeing Izuku dance would be nice. Well, that sold it. I'm joining. Darkness-chan, Kazuma-kun. I trust you to take care of business back in Axel. You'll be my representatives. I trust your judgment. Weakness acquired, sad unicorn eyes. It is super effective. Leave it to us, Anarchy. I'll make sure that Darkness doesn't turn Axel into a BDSM club while you're hero. Kazuma said, only to be bonked over the head by an angry Lalatina. It would seem that her inability to hit anything only extended to actual combat. Bonking her friends for saying something stupid was fair game. Eris-chan, please go with them to make sure they don't go too crazy. Izuku decided that their Belzer group needed some divine intervention to have a chance of not going nuclear. Speaking of which, what about us? Megumin asked, Union silently asking the same question. You two and Aqua-chan can help look after Eri-chan during the festival. I only ask that you don't cause trouble and help her have a good time. Izuku gives a subtle look to Yunyun, only needing that to communicate that she was in charge of making sure the other two didn't get too crazy. Woo, we got the world-class celebrity. This festival is gonna be huge. Do you know how to dance? Mina asked, getting a sheepish negative from the greenette. No problem. If there's anything I know, it's dancing. I can whip you into shape if you're willing to give it your all small might. I'll try my best, and please don't call me that. I'm not as tall as All Might, but I'm not exactly small either. Izuku pouted. He used to be a string bean, but that was what felt like a lifetime ago. Can confirm, not small at all. Eris got the last word, making our hero give his best impression of a strawberry. Now that it happened less often, those who knew Izuku best learned to savor these moments. Day of the festival, nearby Work-Sun store. Izuku was in the middle of his morning run, wanting to get in a bit of exercise before the festival. It was during this run that he tripped over his own 2 feet, directly in front of 2 rather heavily dressed people. Sorry, I don't even remember the last time I tripped like that. The green hero apologized immediately, not at all hurt but more surprised by his slip-up than anything. Holy shit, what is our luck? The taller of the 2 strangers said under their breath. Cough, no need to apologize. Young man, we all make mistakes. Let's run along. Honey, we have work to do. The small woman sounded surprised over the name but rolled with it. All along, Izuku's detect lie skill pinged. That was a close one, La Brava. We almost got caught before our scheme could even begin. Truly, fortune has a most interesting relationship with this gentle criminal. You two realized that we were heading in the same direction, right? I heard everything you just said. Izuku deadpanned, causing the 2 would-be criminals to jump. Gentle criminal. I remember that name from a few online videos I watched a while back. Or more accurately, Megumin did on his interdimensional tablet. She seemed to like the flamboyant villain's style and flair for the dramatic. Izuku used the term villain very loosely here. These people were more like pranksters than anything else. Usually, he would have just let them go on their way. But UA was in a precarious situation and any sign of trouble could have everything shut down. More importantly, it would make Eri sad. Intimidating aura activated. Gentle and La Brava immediately fell on their knees, shaking slightly under the sudden pressure they felt come off the green hero. I want to make myself clear. I know who you two are and I can guess what your plans are. I can also guess you know who I am. So pay close attention, Izuku said, starting with an OFA-enhanced booming voice before pulling it back and speaking normally. Someone who is very important to me is looking forward to UAS festival. That and my classmates worked very hard on it. If it were to get cancelled, it would make many people sad, including someone I consider my daughter. I won't allow that to happen, he emphasized again, causing the 2 would-be villains to tremble. I can tell when people lie to me, so I want to hear it from both of you. Be careful how you answer. Izuku warned the 2, making it known that if they lied or gave him an answer he couldn't accept, there would be consequences. Will you abstain from invading UA today? If you say no, or if you lie to me, I will break all of your limbs right now and leave you in my personal jail until tomorrow. I will heal you afterwards and let you go. You can keep doing your gentle criminal routine if you like. I don't really care. Izuku dropped his intimidation skill, letting everything sink in. Gentle kept trembling for a full minute while La Brava looked ready to puke but kept it in. I understand, young master. Whoever this person is, they must be quite something to push a hero to this extreme. Or perhaps something happened on the other side to make one such as yourself more decisive. Gentle tried to remain polite, not wanting to anger the dangerous young man in front of him further. Both, to be honest, my concept of extreme action might be a bit skewed after my stay in that other world. But that doesn't matter right now. Answer my question. If you agree to stay away from UA, I promise that I won't hurt either of you. To sweeten the deal, I'll even recommend your videos to some of my friends. Deal? Well, that was easier than I expected. Are they that desperate for clout? Izuku thought as an awkward silence formed after Gentle's instant agreement. Whatever, I can question things after this is all over. At least he didn't lie. He decided to roll with it and address the clout chasers still on the floor. Alright then, get up and go. I'll contact you later through your comments section, so pay attention. Until next time, I guess, Izuku said before running off again, leaving a very scared but excited Gentle behind. La Brava was still trying not to puke. Clearly she was the more normal of the 2. One surprisingly well-choreographed school festival show later. Girls, when I told you to make sure she had a good time, I didn't mean to drown her in sugar to the point of a near coma. Izuku sighed at the sight of Eri sleepily hanging off of Aqua's back. At least she didn't get hurt or anything. Still, note to self. Limit Eri's sugar consumption, stockpiling quirk aside that can't be healthy. Plus, the small upturn of her lips showed that their efforts weren't for nothing. The little girl that had been through hell learned how to smile, which brought one to Izuku's own lips. This was why he did that song and dance in the first place, fun as it may have been. Oh, she'll be fine. Remember, I can cure diseases, so you don't need to worry about any of that stuff. The girl can do with some spoiling after everything that happened to her. Aqua argued, which was fair enough. It was the main reason that Izuku was only a little disappointed rather than truly upset. Well, now that this was over with, Izuku had some quick business to attend to before heading back to Belzer. Hopefully nothing too important happened in the time he was here. Gentle Criminal. I think I've heard of him before. His videos keep getting disliked into oblivion, and there are a bunch of reaction videos of people dumping on it on Hero too. Why do you ask? Kaminari said, filling in those in his class who had no idea what Izuku was talking about, or why he would bring up such an obscure internet personality. Right, so there was a bit of an incident before the festival started. Gentle and his accomplice wanted to invade UA for some quick views. Luckily I was there to put a stop to that. The others grimaced, knowing that with how cautious UA was at the moment, even a joke invasion like that would have meant the cancellation of the culture festival. I threatened them at first but felt bad after seeing that they were just a couple of tone-deaf pranksters, not real villains. So I sweetened the deal by telling them I'd recommend their videos to you all. So if you watch them and maybe leave a comment, it would make their day. His old classmates' faces deadpanned in unison. The absurdity of the situation hit them hard. Fuck it, might as well. Maybe it'll be worth a laugh. Bakugo broke the silence in a bored tone, secretly just wanting to do Izuku a solid as a form of apology for what happened in the past. Also because seeing some D-listers getting juked and trolled by a pair of villain wannabe clowns sounded legitimately funny. Thanks, Kaken. Just know that there's no rush or obligation here. I just promised them that I'd tell you all about their channel. Not that you'd watch or like anything that you saw. Izuku thanked the unusually quiet Pomeranian. Well, that was all I needed to tell you, for now. I should head back to Belzer to finalize a few things, both personal and political. Good luck and hurry back, Midoriya-chan. I can't wait to visit your new country. The stories Ochako-chan and Mina-chan talked about made it sound so exciting, Tsuyu said with some excitement leaking into her voice, bluntly saying what many of the class wanted to before Izuku left. Smiling, Izuku gives her and the others a thumbs up before disappearing in a burst of speed. Damn, that's cool. Several minutes of searching later. Where are those guys? Don't tell me they left campus without saying anything. I just hope Eris and Kazuma can keep them in check. Izuku thought as he circled UA, in search of his party, traveling at such speeds that made him practically invisible to anyone. There they are. Wait a minute. Izuku slowed down and landed next to his party, Eri, and the two wannabe criminals that he just gave clout to. Hey guys, I'm ready to head out whenever you are. Can I help you two with anything? I already told my classmates about your channel. Izuku was cut off by Gentle performing a perfect 90-degree bow, followed by La Brava's attempt to do the same, only for her to tip over from being too hasty. Please, take us under your wing. I have come to realize that my dreams of heroism still burn bright and that my best chance of achieving them along with the legacy that I seek is with you. Please take us in. I promise we won't be a burden. And if I'm not good enough, at least take Gentle. Okay, I guess I could take you guys and enlist you as a state adventurer or something. He agreed almost immediately. To Izuku, they were just begging him for a job, something he could easily give. There were never enough adventurers to take care of necessary quests after all. Is that like a hero? Gentle asked, not familiar with the term. In a way. Basically, you operate as a regular adventurer, taking quests, helping people in the wider community by doing so, and working directly under the local government, which is us. Izuku explained. The job offer was pretty much exactly what heroes in this world did, just under a different name and with significantly more freedom. So heroes by another name, it would be an honor to work under you, young master. Is there anything that you need from us before making things official? If not, then we are prepared to follow you forthwith. Izuku scratched the back of his head, a bit taken aback by the silver-haired man's enthusiasm. No, we're ready to go if you are. There will be some paperwork to do once we get there, but that's about it. And some basic training, of course. He wasn't going to give them a position of authority just like that. The local guard captain and Luna-chan will fill you in on the specifics, at least until Toshinori-sensei finishes with his work here and rejoins the city guard. It was at this moment that Gentle and La Brava realized that they were going to be trained by All Might himself. In another world at that. I'll take your shaking as a yes, let's get going then. Izuku decided, shooting a portal under them and jumping in, followed by his party and eventually the two former criminals. Later that day, Adventurers Guild. This place is perfect. The fresh air, the clean streets, the vibrant atmosphere. Even before starting as an adventurer, I can already tell this was the best decision I've made in a long time. Gentle was sipping the local tea along with La Brava, both taking the time to study their new adventurer cards while they did so. I'm glad you like it. Axel was always lively and the air was always fresh, even before we introduced electric lighting and cookware. But the clean streets are a product of Kazuma's hard work. I'm sure he'd be happy to hear you compliment them, Izuku said. They shared the rune crafting work between us and Union, but Kazuma did the bulk of the actual infrastructure work. The guy could be pretty creative when he wanted to be. When you're finished with your tea, just tell Luna-chan and she'll take you to your trainer. She'll also give you a map of the town, so feel free to stop by our mansion if you need anything. I apologize for not being able to help you with the process, but we have some business to take care of at the capital, Izuku said before waving them off and taking his party through yet another portal. Bloody useful things. A literal hop, skip, and jump later and they were all a few meters from the royal palace, just in front of Iris as a matter of fact. Okay, wow, we should really put in some security features for these things. They're a national security nightmare in the wrong hands. Izuku's sweat dropped when he realized just how problematic the portal tech could be. He was usually a lot quicker on the draw when it came to noticing these things. You're back. Thank goodness. I thought I was going to die of stress if I kept working so hard. Please take me somewhere fun. I can't deal with those stuffy old nobles for much longer. Iris all but begged Izuku, liberally applying the all-powerful puppy eye technique that all lolis know. I don't see why not. We just need to finish a bit of work before that. It shouldn't take more than an hour. Izuku showed his ignorance of politics by foolishly believing that anything could be done quickly. 5 hours of political pussyfooting and an eventual threat later. I'm so sorry, Iris. Is this what it's always been like? How does anything ever get done in this country? A greener than usual Izuku asked as he and his party stumbled out of hell. I was seconds away from punching that rat-looking one in the face, a particularly antagonistic noble that had a bone to pick with the new guy. Nobody would blame you. I know that my father had to lay down the law with Nezumi-sen many times before. For a minor noble, he has far too much self-importance, Iris replied, joining Iri on his other shoulder, who had fallen asleep less than an hour in. Things were much simpler when we were at war. The crown had absolute power back then, but now that peace is restored, we have to negotiate with the nobility again. Say Izuku. No, I will not ask Pandora-san to declare war on us again just so we can get out of dealing with the nobles, no matter how tempting it is. Izuku did his best to resist temptation, a skill he had developed to a great degree over the last few years. Cheer up, everyone. It's late now, but I'm sure we can still find something fun or relaxing to do before ending the day. Darkness, who was also carrying a child on her back in the form of a passed-out Aqua, tried to lift their spirits. I haven't been in the capital in a long time. Do you know of any places that we could go to IzuxHarem? Restaurants, theaters, hot springs, a few casinos. That's about it at this time of night. Honestly, I just want to decompress for a bit, so tired. And I think I'm getting a migraine. Hearing this, Izuku pulled out a single Eris coin from his pocket and transmuted it into some ibuprofen, handing it to Iris along with some water. Thanks, these things have been a miracle substance since you showed us how to make them. Right, so I think we can all agree that food comes first. All that mental stress made me hungry. Any suggestions? Meat, booze, something filling, pasta, a feast, anything is fine, sushi. Several very different answers rang out. A buffet from our world it is. We can just teleport back after we finish eating. Such bloody useful things portals are. The whole world, multiple in fact, just opens up when you start thinking with portals. One mad rush away from fans and a quick escape later. Right, fame, my mortal enemy. Izuku forgot just how ravenous his world's civilians could be when close to sufficiently famous figures. And at this moment, he and his party probably outmatched even the world's top heroes in terms of media coverage. I guess we're stuck eating here unless you guys want to give one of the other worlds on this thing a try. I'd rather not risk interdimensional travel on an empty stomach. Thank you very much. Let's just go to the Adventurers Guild and get some food from there. I'm too tired to think of anything else and deal with the plebs. Kazuma, the former king of plebs, commented, raising a good point. The food there is pretty good anyways, plus good company. Several good points. Sure, why not? We could hang out with Luna-chan and maybe visit Wiz-chan too while we're there. Izuku agreed to it, which was followed by several confirmations from his party. The Adventurers Guild it is. I wonder if they still have some frog meat left. He had grown a taste for the strange protein. Warp, welcome back. Are you here just to visit or? Yeah, those are hungry faces, all right. Take a seat, I'll take your order right away. Khlo led them to a private table and took each of their orders. We'll make your food right away. And I'll make sure to tell Luna-san that you are all here. The lady chuckled before heading off to the main office. Sigh, you know what? You were right, Kazuma-kun. This is way more relaxing than any random 5-star restaurant we could have chosen. The peace of mind of knowing that they would be left alone to eat in comfort was worth more than any fancy meal. Of course I was right, when aren't I? Kazuma boasted before getting bonked over the head by Aqua. Okay, I'll stop. Don't have to hit me over it. The two continued their comedy routine, filled with much more energy now that they were in a warmer and friendlier place. I hope Eri-chan is okay with the food. I know that our world's food is a bit strange for the people of your world. Darkness said, a bit concerned that the party's surrogate daughter wouldn't like the local food. Children had different palates after all. I was planning on just giving her a piece of my order after she wakes up, but you're probably right. Maybe we should just order her a small sandwich and some milk instead. Izuku thought it over, now worried himself that Eri might not like or get sick over the guild's tasty but strange food. MNMG apples, or a fruit bowl, Izuku suggests. One fruit bowl for the little angel along with everything else coming right up. Welcome back, young masters. We took up a job with the staff while our paperwork is getting processed. Luna and a gentle wearing an apron. Surprisingly, La Brava was nowhere to be seen. He's been quite the help. His elasticity power has already stopped several dishes from breaking. He even stopped a few brawls before they could begin by slingshotting the drunks out the window, which saved them quite a few errors. Luna was debating on giving them an offer for permanent employment, but she knew that they wanted to be adventurers above anything else. It was nothing special, just a few over-enthusiastic youths that got a bit too rowdy. This place has quite the energetic atmosphere, especially during the day. Which reminds me, may I ask what took you all so long? You must have had a long day given how tired you look. The reminder of what happened deflated the party almost immediately. That bad, huh? Worse. Where's Minami-san, by the way? You two are usually attached at the hip. Izuku brought up her absence. Apparently, it was for a good reason, as Gentle's mood improved at the mention. Something good, I'm guessing. The green hero smiled, happy that he could help the two. Her height didn't agree with the manual work of setting tables and stopping ruffian. No offense to Ruffian-san. The obvious and very overused joke made the occupants of the guild groan. But she took up accounting and managerial work to a masterful level. Gentle complimented her to Luna's agreement. The guild's business side had never run so smoothly. Again, Luna debated writing up a contract to have the two former criminals work for her on at least a part-time basis. Good for you too. If the adventurer thing doesn't work out, at least you know that you have a well-paying position waiting for you should you want it, Izuku said, though quickly elaborated. Not that I think you'll fail. If Kazuma-kun could become a powerful adventurer from where he began, anyone could. Hey, actually, I'm not even going to argue. I sucked at the start. The former NEET rose up only to deflate almost immediately as he remembered how he started his journey, sleeping in a stable after failing to take out a giant frog. It raises my spirits to hear that, and I'll make sure that La Brava knows you believe in us. Thank you again for this opportunity, young masters, and I'll think about working here now and again. I do happen to enjoy it, particularly the free drinks. The tea of this world was magnificent, almost, and quite possibly literally, magical. A chuckle from Izuku turned into good-natured laughter from party and guild staff alike. All in all, despite the aristocrats' best efforts, today turned out to be a good day. And all because the young green hero decided to show mercy and kindness to a downtrodden pair. There was a lesson in that somewhere. You two did great for your first round of training. I'm sure that you'll make excellent progress from now on so long as you keep up that enthusiasm. And Gentle, you're very creative with your quirk. Maybe we can go over ideas later whenever we both have the time, Izuku said to his two trainees, both of whom were on the ground, struggling for breath after experiencing one of the green hero's warm-up exercises. 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and a 10-kilometer run, all done in less than 1 hour. Usually, Izuku would do them in half the time, but he knew that his trainees were new to it, so he cut them some slack. Take 5. I'll keep going with my exercises while you rest. Afterward, we'll go over the more technical side of your new jobs as adventurers. Why you are a monstrous young man. Truly, we can be sure that a truck. Gentle heaved for a bit before continuing. That the future of both worlds is safely in your hands. Oh, my new gods, my vision is going black, he said, voice going low and eyes getting fuzzy. Minami suddenly regained some of her energy and used it to help keep Gentle awake and alive. Thank you. I trained very hard for a long time to get to where I am, and I'm sure if you put the same effort into it, you will go far too. Izuku's bright smile almost brought life back into his trainee's eyes with its sheer positivity. Almost positive vibes were no replacement for oxygen. Well, anyways, I have to finish up my real workout and head off to run the city. See you two later. Several hours of paperwork, fieldwork, and general bureaucracy later, Midoriya Mansion. How does doing a bunch of paperwork tire me out more than All Might's exercises? I've never had this problem with schoolwork or dealing with the Adventurers Guild. Ugh, my head is still swimming, and last I checked, healing magic didn't cure mental fatigue. Lucky for Izuku, he did have access to something that could. More specifically, someone. Zuku, you're back. How was work? Did you help people today? Did you save anyone? Eri, the little bundle of joy that she was, tackled the green hero and climbed on his shoulders, not even budging the young man, who smiled back at her and replied, "Nobody needed saving today, but I definitely helped everyone I could. Maybe tomorrow I'll take you along so that you can see what it's like, and so that you can start making some new friends." The poor girl needed some social interaction with other children. Izuku and his team could only do so much to help her in that respect. New friends? Yeah, I know the people here like me, but I never got the chance to play with them. Tomorrow's going to be so much fun. Stress eradicated, soul restored. It would seem that Eri's quirk had a secondary function. Her smile rewound mental, emotional damage rather than physical. "You're a treasure." "But I thought I was Eri." "Eri is a treasure." "Yo, Aqua, think you can give me a heal? I think I'm getting diabetes from the sweetness." Kazuma snarked as he, Aqua, and Eris walked in on the tooth-rotting scene. The only thing left is for Eris-chan to join in and complete the family photo opus. Aqua just giggled at his side while Eris gained a thoughtful look on her face. For all of 2 seconds before she decided that yes, she would join her lover and adopted daughter. "I'll make sure to introduce you to all of my little followers personally. You'll have more friends than you will know what to do with," she said while patting Eri's head and horn. Suddenly, the child grew worried, which Izuku immediately noticed and addressed. "Don't worry, Eri-chan, Eris-chan, and Aqua-chan are both centuries old. Even if you did rewind them, they'd be just fine." Suddenly, a dark presence filled the room. Izuku had just made a grave mistake. Even if they look as beautiful and youthful as they do, the dark presence lessened considerably. Izuku was safe for another day. What's a century? Oh right, barely educated 6-year-old raised by the mafia. Don't worry about it. We'll set up a curriculum to help you catch up in no time. You'll learn so many new things, it will be like a whole new world. But I've already been to 2 worlds. How many worlds are there? A lot. This continued. The next day. I still don't know what a goddess is, but that's what everyone's been calling me. A confused Eri answered her new friend. I know I'm not a weird unicorn though. They have a horn too, but they're horses, not people, she said with conviction. That makes sense. Hey, is it true that the other world has flying machines that can move faster than any bird? The kids were understandably curious about the other world. Unfortunately, Eri had little knowledge about it herself, so she just answered yes, since she didn't know any of the specifics. Hey Eri, want to play catch the spinach? They've been growing well for a while, and catching them as they fly is really fun. Plus they make for good food. Eri was already interested until the children mentioned food, at which her eyes sparked. Lead the way. We're reaching levels of cute that shouldn't even be possible. And I'm here for it. Should we bring in Koda to play too? Izuku asked Eris, who had joined him along with Darkness to supervise Eri's playdate with the local children, along with just wanting a break from all the work they'd been flooded with lately. They had spent the start of the day doing their usual rounds, but stopped early since Eri grew tired and bored. Koda, oh right, that boy you died protecting before we met. Wow, it's been a while. Sure, the kid sounds like he could use a friend, and he seemed to have a better attitude the last time I checked his file. Eris thanked her excellent memory as a goddess who could remember a near infinite number of souls. That is when she bothered to pay attention. Those who didn't could forget what they had to eat for breakfast, like a certain water Yeah, I thought as much. We'll visit the Pussycats tomorrow and see if we can set something up. As a plus, Eri could meet some new heroes. She had developed a loving interest in the profession, almost as much as she had for adventurers. Her personal hero being one himself had no influence on that at all, truly. While I approve of finding Eri-chan new friends, what kind of heroes go by the name Pussycats? Do they just wear cat-themed costumes? Do they have cat-themed quirks? Darkness was having a hard time imagining a feline hero team and how or why they went with that choice. It's for marketing, isn't it? Yup, the cat theme and costumes are super popular with the kids, and older audiences appreciate the members in those costumes since, well, they are admittedly easy on the eyes. Izuku finished, a bit embarrassed since he previously had a small crush on the Pussycats, beyond his regular admiration for heroes. No need to be embarrassed. I won't get jealous if your eyes stray a little. Just keep your hands to yourself. And of course, to us, Eris teased, to Izuku and now Darkness embarrassment. Neither of them was fully used to that kind of talk in general, let alone in public, even though Darkness was far racier in her mind. Speaking of which, huff, the thought of such unfaithfulness really gets me going. To be used and tossed aside at a moment's notice for a new floozy, how wonderful. It's too bad that Izuku-kun wouldn't do that, at least not on his own. Dark thoughts invaded Lalatina's mind, which her two partners tried their best to ignore for their own sanity's sake. One needed to master this skill if one wanted to work alongside Darkness without being corrupted or scared away. A long day of play later. I'm tired now. Friends are nice though. Thanks for carrying me, Zuku. Sleepy now. With that, Eri's eyes closed, and soon after her breathing slowed down. She had fallen asleep on Izuku's shoulders, bringing a smile to anyone who saw her and to the young hero. Such a sweetie. I'm glad to see that what she suffered through didn't leave any permanent damage. Thanks to you, of course. You know, I still need to give my champion a reward for being such a good hero," she teased. Its directness and sincerity were enough to make Izuku blush crimson. "Why, you don't have to. But I'm like that. Maybe after I can test out my black whip too." It was Aerith's turn to go scarlet. It would seem that Darkness wasn't the only one interested in Izuku's most recent addition to his arsenal of powers. Then again, I should probably get to the point where I'm not crushing branches first. Scarlet turned blue. Yeah, that was more Lalatina's speed. Exclusively. Let's shelve that idea for another time. But I like where your head's at. Speaking of heads, should we start hunting that BBG that you were training against before dying? His group seems to have gone to ground since then, but I doubt they'll stay out of our hair for long. Eris brought up an excellent point. All for One may have been in Tartarus, but Shigaraki and his lackeys were still out there. And the new leader had a quirk very well suited for prison breaks. We can search for them after we're done here. Frankly, I'm not too concerned with them, nowhere near as much as I used to be. We have All Might back at full strength now. I'm on his level and have powers that All for One can't steal. And of course, I have our party and our new allies. Call me optimistic, but I think we've got this. The thought of battle against someone whose mere presence had once nearly made him puke now only filled him with anticipation and only a touch of concern. It helped that they also had a blue-haired revive button. You're not wrong. I had a bird's eye view on that scumbag from my time sorting through your world's dead. He's a dangerous piece of work, but we should be able to handle him as we are now, barring any unforeseen changes. But that was the kicker. The quirk leech was slippery, and Izuku had been gone for months from the perspective of his world. Things were bound to have changed. Izuku let out a sigh before smiling, channeling All Might to cast out the few doubts he still had. That's a problem for another day. We'll go back to Japan tomorrow and work to settle things there. Then, we can finally rest easy without any loose ends. Maybe take a true, several months long vacation after that. A long period of rest before they got back to saving people and improving the world as heroes should. By your order, a fearless leader. Kazuma should be useful for this one. He keeps buying up rogue, scavenger-style skills. It looks like he's given up on being a warrior type and only takes a few utility magic skills. He's come a long way from his skill monkey, master of none style. We'd need him for his tracking skills most of all. Right, we'll take him along with us tomorrow and see if the heroes have found a trace of something. It's been a fairly long time and Shigaraki is bound to be public enemy number one. I'm sure they'll have something. Who knows, maybe they've even captured a member of the League while he was gone. The next day, Nezu's office. You caught Kurogiri. This Izuku did not expect. A mook, sure. The lesser member, maybe. But the League of Villains third in command. Second, now that FO was in Tartarus. Who did it? It would have to be someone extremely fast and efficient to capture a target that can teleport. Was it Gran Torino? Maruko maybe. Izuku's fanboy side took over momentarily, his brain flipping through its internal Rolodex of heroes that could have gotten the job done. You were right the first time, young man. Gran Torino and Detective Naomasa investigated a public sighting of the warp villain. Fortunately, they managed to reach him in time and take him down quickly. As principal confirmed Izuku's guess with a smile, though it slipped soon after. Unfortunately, Kurogiri was not alone. He continued, using a remote to turn on a large screen. A gigantic man, easily the size of a small hill, filled it. Gigantomatia, an old villain and former bodyguard of All for One. It would seem that he has come out of hiding and is working with Shigaraki and his group. As you can see, his quirk, or more likely quirks, are quite a sight to behold. Indeed they were. The guy looked like he could flip over a skyscraper like it was a plywood table. Strength, speed, durability, stamina, and even a degree of resistance to mental attacks. In terms of sheer physical power, he rivals All Might in his youth. Though obviously, he is nowhere near as nimble. And his intelligence is nothing special from what we could gather. A pure bruiser, the epitome of a villain group's muscle, but not very intelligent. That was manageable. I can take him, Megumin boasted, and in all honesty, her team believed her. Explosion was not to be fucked with. And with any luck, a few well-placed skills may be able to bypass his durability altogether. Fearless leader could do it easily too. I bet it wouldn't even take a minute. Oh, so that nickname stuck, it would seem. From what Toshinori reported, I believe you. Still, it would be best to remain cautious and aware of who our enemies are. We were lucky to capture such an important member, but we can't get complacent. And unfortunately, Kurogiri has yet to provide us with any valuable information. Must be a tough nut. With a quirk like Naomasa, they should have been able to get something out of the Cloud Man, even if it was a lie. However, the medical team did manage to find something. It would seem that Kurogiri's quirk is not a natural one, not by a long shot. It's several quirks stitched together by the power of All for One. And to top it all off, his vitals were null. What we've been dealing with all this time was an intelligent Namo. Izuku and his team gasped in shock at the revelation. until Aqua raised her hand like a schoolgirl. Yes, Aqua-san, Nezu asked on instinct. What's in Namu? She didn't pay attention when Izuku explained it last time. Not gonna lie, I wasn't paying attention when you told us about the specifics either. I just assumed they were a weird Frankenstein's monster type thing, where you take a bunch of dead bodies, sew them together, and get a super-powered monster out of it, Kazuma admitted, and that was a pretty accurate description, to be honest. Oh, in that case, I can help. Aqua raised her voice. An epiphany had hit her. I'm a goddess after all. And then it hit her team too. Oh yeah, you could just cure, purify, and revive the guy. Though if it's multiple bodies in one, I wonder how that would work. Or if they even want to be revived after so much time. Is the soul even still in the body? If so, then we should do this right away. It must. Izuku dived into a muttering fest for the first time in a long time. It's been a while since that happened. But yeah, I should be able to do it. By the way, how young was the person who got turned into that Namu thing? If he's still a minor, then Eris-chan would have authority over his soul. That will help a lot. Nezu's eyes widened at that. Suddenly, his fingers type away at a speed none in that room could follow. Quickly enough that the change of image of the screen that once showed Gigantomachia changed to the ID of a young man with cloud-like hair and an eye blink. Shirakumo Aburo, a hero student from the same year as Aizawa-kun. He was presumed dead at the age of 17 during a hero work-study incident. Would that fit the definition of a minor, Aqua-sama, Eris-sama? Nezu switched his honorifics to those of the highest esteem. If it was true that these goddesses could return the young hero to his former condition, or at the very least give his soul peace, then they deserved such respect. It should, but we can't guarantee that we can revive him after so much time. If his soul has already moved on, then that's that. But if that monster really did imprison the poor boy's soul in that body, then we will release it and let him rest. That we can promise. Eris and Aqua didn't have absolute authority as a minor and middling goddess respectively, but they could do this at least. All I can ask is for you to try, and be sure that your services will be properly compensated. Some may see me as a mascot or a simple school principal, but the pro-hero Brainiac still has quite a bit of pull in the hero, political, and economic worlds. I will use every bit of that pull to help you all should you require it. The party had gained a powerful ally indeed. So this is the place. It sure is ominous. Kazuma spoke up, trying to cut the tension from the situation. He, Aqua, Eris, and Izuku were the only members of their party to come on this mission. For security reasons, but also because having more people around may disrupt what they were going to attempt. Kazuma's attempt didn't seem to work. Both Eris and, to everyone's surprise, Aqua were silent as the grave as they got out of their transport and walked solemnly toward the prison. Clearly, something about the place made them unusually solemn and contemplative. Can they sense Kurogiri from here? What kind of state is he in where that's even possible? Izuku mused, though he probably didn't want the answer to that. He'd settle for calling all for one a monster and swearing on his title of a hero to show him how adventurers dealt with monsters. Welcome. I will bring you to the room, Aizawa, who was likely meant to act as our escort, began to say, but was ignored as Aqua walked right past him. Detect evil was all she said in an almost robotic tone. Eris followed closely behind. Izuku quickly apologized on their behalf and followed the two goddesses alongside Kazuma, neither wanting to leave them alone. Eventually, after going down several levels into an underground room, they arrived at Kurogiri's prison. The corpse was strapped to a chair with its whole body wrapped, almost certainly with quirk-blocking technology, as well as having a thick screen of glass separating it from anyone or anything else. Its physical appearance is a sickening, poisonous-looking cloud worked well to complement its spiritual aura of death and corruption. Kurogiri was an abomination of science and an insult to all things holy. A grave insult. Or was all it could say before being drowned out by a powerful light. Purification. Exorcism. Heal. Purification. 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 Purify Aqua fired skill after skill, trying to force the corrupted aura, souls, and general nastiness that comprised Kurogiri's being out of the physical body, only to be stopped by Eris, who had enough self-control to realize it wasn't working. Calm down, Aqua-sama. You can't just brute force this one. You're just purifying the surface and shaving off the top souls. Healing will just cause unnecessary pain. We need to isolate the soul we wish to save and send the rest to their afterlife. Eris tried to reason with her superior. Aqua looked pained and took almost a full minute to calm down. Her glare towards the writhing Frankenstein's monster never wavered though. Is there anything we can do to help? My paladin class isn't that useful for spiritual purposes, but this skill could at least help a little. Creed of Protection. Izuku activated one of his lesser-used abilities, as he rarely fought alongside others despite being part of a team. A ring of light is created and grows out, surrounding everyone in the room and empowering them save for Kurogiri. Each person felt a surprising wave of energy that left them in shock. Aizawa in particular looked much more awake and energetic than usual, to his surprise since just a moment earlier he was nearing death's door from exhaustion. both physical and mental. That will be very helpful, Izuku-kun. The power boost is nice, but more importantly, we now have much better control over our holy energy that we need to manipulate. Thank you, wish us luck. Eris thanked Izuku before returning her focus to the task at hand. Assisting Aqua, who had gone back to work the second Izuku buffed her. I'll do you one better. Blessing of luck. Izuku cast another buff. This time just on Aqua, who really needed the extra help. Now with that plus Eris, Kazuma, and his own luck, they should be fine. I hope. I wish there was more that I could do. I should spec into the spiritual side of my class more. This time the two goddesses weren't able to thank their leader, too focused on their work as the current task required extreme focus and more than a little creativity on their part. Working with such a mangled collection of souls, mutilated biology, and the utter corruption of a revenant was difficult, even for higher-end divine beings. First, they needed to contain their power to just their target, to make sure that there was no waste leaking out. For this, a magic circle was created. Though unlike human mages and their chalk or blood circles, the goddesses created theirs with raw holy power supplemented by Izuku. Second, they needed to separate each and every soul that was sewn together by All for One's quirk into the amalgamated body of Kirigiri, purging the ones that were rotting and long dead to their individual fates, which were the majority. The few souls that kept strong, though not necessarily pure, throughout their tortured existence were separated from the pile. Next, a mass purification and exorcism spell for the corrupted souls courtesy of Aqua, sending them to their fate in the next life. The spiritual miasma in the room was beaten back substantially now that such a massive source of the corruption had been eliminated. But not all of it. One of the comparatively pure souls still held a significant amount of corruption, latched on like a parasite. That must be the one, Eris thought while Aqua did her job of sending the remaining souls to their chosen afterlife. Each one had more than enough virtue, after enduring so much torment, to choose where they wanted to go. When it came to finesse, Eris was the superior goddess. Her lesser power, concentrated into an enchanted holy dagger, was the better tool for cutting and shaving away the parasite from the otherwise uncorrupted soul. After doing so, and after Aqua launched an unconscious purification at the corruption, the physical effects were immediate. Kirigiri's body had lost its purple haze, replaced by a pale human body with spots of discoloration underneath, smaller than the previous amalgamation. With hair like a cloud and closed eyes, the body was still dead, without a soul, and had atrophied considerably. Nothing that their resident goddess of healing couldn't fix with a bit of effort. Sacred Highness Heal, Sacred Highness Purification, Resurrection. Two supremely powerful holy spells hit the soul, cleansing it of its taint before a third spell launched it back into its original body. Fully healed and completely pale, the pieces of foreign tissue used to stitch the body together were erased and replaced by the original body's cells. I think we did it. I doubt he'll be waking up anytime soon though. I healed his body, but his mind and soul have been damaged beyond my power to easily restore. Even Aqua could only do so much. Psychological damage and damage to one's soul was beyond her pay grade. The only reason they managed to save Oboro at all was thanks to Eris helping out and Izuku's buff. I'm sorry I ever doubted you. Aqua-sama, Eris-sama. I will take Oboro to an infirmary so that he can rest properly. Thank you. I don't care if you think otherwise, but Hizashi and I owe you one for this, and we will repay you, some way, somehow. Aizawa, who had witnessed the entire ordeal wide-eyed and on his knees, said before standing up and picking up the unconscious body of Oboro. The policemen nearby did not dare stop or question him when he gave them a crimson glare. That guy needs to lay off the Batman comics and maybe get laid. But hey, he and his friend owe me bubbly now. All seriousness and authority that may have been present while the blue goddess worked earlier evaporated into nothing, though it did instantly cut through the tension that was in the room. Never change, Aqua-chan, never change. We should get going. There's nothing left for us to do here and Eri-chan is probably missing us by now, Izuku said, shaking his head and creating a portal in a single motion, one that he and his friends took immediately, leaving the officer meant to guide them behind in an awkward silence. That was certainly an experience. Minutes later, UA Heights Alliance. It's kind of crazy how this place had the perfect amount of spare rooms for us. You'd think that a school would try to cut down on expenses by only building what was strictly necessary. Kazuma mused as each member of the party picked a room to sleep in. There were exactly 3 rooms left on the boys' side, one that was originally for Izuku, and a whopping 10 free rooms on the girls' side, more than enough to fit them all. Leave it to the school's resident furry principal to go overboard, in the best ways possible, of course. I'm just glad that we don't have to find a place to sleep in a hurry. I mean, we could easily afford it, or we could just jump to and from the mansion and Axel, but that would be a hassle to do every day. Besides, it was nice to be in UA again, experiencing the same things his classmates did after he died. Dorm life wasn't bad at all. It's nice to have you back, even if you aren't going to stick around permanently. Plus, it's great to have so many strong people around. I'm sure it will make us grow considerably faster by having experienced heroes, adventurers, around to learn from," Momo said, bubbly at the thought and happy to have new comrades around. Her words served to puff up Megumin's pride at being recognized as an experienced adventurer. "Of course, we'll help out our leader's old friends catch up to the big leagues. It's not your fault. Even the great Megumin was less than excellent before joining. But now it is my turn to pay it forward. First step of Megumin's training. Don't bunk. Don't listen to that chuny mage. She has no idea how to actually teach people who aren't naturally talented," Kazuma interrupted, bonking the overexcited mage on the head for her antics. After all, quirks aside, Megumin was a true magical genius when it came to her specialty, which consequently made her a terrible teacher for anyone who didn't have similar talent in a similar field. "We can help you, but you probably shouldn't take advice from any of these girls, except Eris-chan. They're all hyper-specialized and talented at specific things, again, except for Eris-chan. Eris is your best bet if you want to learn stealthy skills, while I can help you guys out with dealing with unpredictable opponents or with thinking on your feet." Kazuma was a bit more level-headed and honest about what they could offer. Experience may have been worth a lot, and their versatile arsenals were useful to train with. But in truth, the students already had a better grasp of the theoretical aspects of combat and their own profession, just as Izuku did before ever arriving in Belzer. "I see, our skill sets are quite different. And from what I've gathered, adventurers are not quite the same as our hero profession. But I'm sure that we can both learn from each other and help one another. And of course, we can become good friends too." Momo's bubbly energy aura was going full blast, hitting Kazuma point blank. Go. Genuine happiness and goodwill with no ulterior motive. And from a cute girl. One of my many weaknesses. Needless to say, the party's third in command blushed up a storm, and without any dirty thoughts accompanying it for once. "As sure, any friend of Anarchy is a friend of mine." "Oh, is your social ineptitude acting up again, Kazuma-kun? It's gotten a lot better ever since we met, but I guess old habits die hard. Don't worry, your goddess of mercy Aqua is here." To what was either teasing or a genuine attempt at consolation. It was hard to tell with Aqua, was interrupted by a bunch of ropes generated from the ether, courtesy of Kazuma. Thus began round 331,337 of their never-ending lovers' quarrel, which the other residents of the room did their best to ignore, or record for future blackmail material. I apologize in advance for any excessive noise, pranks, and general insanity that you will be subjected to while we stay here. Please, if any of them get too rowdy, come to me and I'll calm them down. I know how chaotic my team can get when left to their own devices." Izuku reassures his amused or just confused classmates, handing them his new number just in case they ever need to contact him. Though it would only work while he was on Earth, of course, putting that on the list. Maybe we could set up a permanent portal for signals to come to and from both worlds. Thoughts and ideas for later. For now, Izuku and his team would need to rest up. Tomorrow, they'd be setting up a play date for Eri and hunting down a wannabe Demon King. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification, so when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.